Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So we have with us tonight our regular panel. We have Jenny Morgan,
Hello.
cute little dinosaur tonight,
Rawr.
and Godless Sewing.
I'm in here somewhere. How's it going?
All right.
Okay, it's been a while. It seems like forever.
It has.
Yeah. Well, I've been erratic lately, and let's see who we've got in the side chat. I see Skits Crasher and Mac the Human,
Yay.
Commander 401. So thank you all for bearing with me and having the patience for me getting things together so late.
And I apologize for all the bings. I have 2 phones, a Ring. I'm subscribed to the NHL channel, the Dodgers, and Twitter is drama. So I'm always getting bings on my phone. So I apologize.
And I see Mark Caesar there too now.
Well, hi kids in the chat. How's everyone?
So, and today's holiday was Take Down Tobacco Day. Now, this does not mean to be rude to smokers. We really need to go after the source of the problem. It's the companies that push the stuff.
That quite literally, much like General Electric, it's 2 or 3 companies that own all of them.
Yeah.
So
it pretty much all comes back to R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris.
I smoked for a very, very long time. I quit almost 4 years ago. It was one of the I've stepped away from every drug that you could possibly think of, and nicotine. I think I quit, I don't know, 30 times, 40 times before I finally put it down.
Yeah, I've never really had that sort of addiction myself. So the closest experience I have is at different times in my life having lived with 3 people while they were trying to kick the habit. And, yeah, I can see it. It really messed them up trying to get off it.
I smoke a bale of pot. So I'm no one. I still smoke pot. But when I quit smoking nicotine, my life changed. And that's not even the preachy stuff. Like, I wouldn't be here because of my lung issues. I had to quit smoking. But it's that addictive.
How did losing the nicotine change you?
The first off, it was the chemical drop. I had never gone through withdrawals as hardcore as like real life nicotine withdrawals. Because I'd had the patch before, all kinds of things, and the last time I quit smoking, I suddenly have become allergic to the patch, where I would break out when I put the patch on. And so I just went cold turkey, and it was the most hardcore chemical drop I'd ever had in my life.
Well, I have heard many times that nicotine is considered the world's hardest drug to or to try to quit. It's the toughest to be addicted to, and all that kind of stuff.
Chemically speaking, I read this in Scientific American because I've been reading Scientific American for a very long time. And yes, Mark Caesar, I am addicted to coffee. They took a brain scan of a baby that was born on heroin and a baby that was born on nicotine, and there was no difference chemically speaking.
Yeah, I believe that.
And so what they were basically trying to say was that nicotine is way more deadly than we think it is, but we have the science now to tell people like, hey, look, like, screw what you think, go look at the science. Like, nicotine is it's one of the most addictive drugs on earth.
Well, when I grew up back in the 60s, God, is that hard to say nowadays? It seemed like it was like 50, 60, 70% of the people out there smoked. And today it's under 25%.
It's the younger
Yeah.
generation because I'm in my 40s, and in my day, in the Kurt Cobain era, everyone smoked.
Well, and
Everyone.
in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't even just the social norm. It's really to fit in with the in crowd, you had to smoke.
Same in
Well,
my day.
they used to have doctors in their tobacco ads, for Christ's sake.
In my town, at all the bars when I was in junior high and high school, and all the restaurants, they still had cigarette vending machines.
Hmm.
The Flintstones was originally sponsored by a cigarette company, and they've had to edit the cartoons to edit out the scenes where the characters were smoking. Because yeah, it was a common thing that virtually all the main characters were smoking.
Yeah, they did. They did ban tobacco ads from TV. They used to
I
be as prevalent as anything, just all over the place.
Yep.
so I remember when I was a kid, when I was a child, you could not go to any major sporting event in Los Angeles without seeing a giant Marlboro ad. If you look at the old Dodger Stadium ads, they had a Marlboro sign over the awning because they sponsored the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I remember magazines all had full page cigarette ads.
Oh damn it! It's so psychosomatic. You guys are talking about smoking, so now I'm gonna start smoking. I tried to
And
hold out.
and you go to a restaurant and there'd be ashtrays on the table.
I grew up in that era because all the adults in my life smoked.
Hmm.
After church every Sunday, my family, it was like 6 or 7 families, so we were deep. We were like 40 people. My entire family would go sit in the smoking section at our local El Torito, and there
We
would
used
be.
to we used to be able to smoke cigarettes in class in college.
Hmm.
Oh man, ugh. When I was 19, I worked at a tattoo shop, and I went from a pack a day to almost 2 packs a day because they let me smoke inside.
Well, and what Skitscrash are saying here, I started smoking in the army. If you didn't smoke, you didn't get a smoke break. And I've heard that from a lot of people, especially people who worked in restaurants. That you got more breaks if you could go out and smoke, and you could get extra breaks, and nobody hassled you for it.
Still true to this day. At my job, if someone's like, "I need a smoke break," I'm like, "Hey, I don't even ask. Don't ever ask me. Just go do it," because I know how it is.
The last actual company I worked for gave gave smokers, well, anybody was entitled to a break, but smokers would always have their break outside, and they were had to move away from the doors, and especially because there was a ventilation duct nearby that they claimed was drawing all the smoke in there, except it was an exit vent. Um, they just didn't like smokers, so they stuck us out there, and um, and even in
Well,
winter, even the dead of winter, people would go out and smoke cigarettes. And I was one of them, and you just were that hungry for it.
and I assume you're talking about living in Minnesota or Wisconsin.
That was Wisconsin.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know what year, but at some point they did pass the laws, not only that you couldn't smoke indoors, but also specifying that you couldn't smoke within 20 feet of the entrance of a public building and things like that.
Yeah, this was within that period of time.
Yeah, so
2008. I can say it. What
yeah,
the fuck?
while it didn't necessarily apply to private businesses, most of them just enacted it as company policies anyway.
Oh no, no, the law was written for all public spaces, and that meant anywhere you worked was considered a public space because they would hire anybody in the public. People could come in off the streets and that sort of thing. So no, you could not smoke there.
Yeah, it's like that here now, man. It's damn near illegal to smoke anywhere except for your backyard. Fun
I don't
fact.
I don't know anywhere that's legal to smoke in a building.
In California, they recently, not recently, but they outlawed smoking on the beaches. The one thing I don't like is they got rid of fire pits. Like there's certain parts of there's certain beaches that are famous for their fire pits, you know. But as the year goes on, certain generations can't hang having fire pits, I guess.
Yeah. One of the things I missed was when I lived in St. Paul, in one section of Como Park, they've got these 3 concrete fire pits. They're like 10 feet in diameter. And actually, I used to host pagan socials there that we'd go and have a good bonfire and, just everybody have a good time.
I miss I miss those days because in my town, we used to have fire pits, and they got rid of them because they considered California is a fire hazard. So from that perspective, I understand. But
Yeah.
how come every generation before could handle having a fire pit, and they
Well,
didn't burn down the city?
part of it has to do with the increased population density, and I think more so the increased density of idiots.
I
Well,
agree.
That
California,
they just
California,
had more incidents.
California
Sorry,
went
Jenny.
crazy with any kind of VOC pollution or anything that had to do with breathing at all. They shut down. They shut down on anything that put out some kind of vapor or particulate matter.
Okay, I agree with you, but the smog pump was technology that worked and showed real results. So they did crack down like crazy people, but the smog pump worked. But now it's kind of ineffective because we have 10 times more cars than even 30 years ago, 40 years ago when the smog pump was instituted in Los Angeles.
What's a smog pump?
Oh, you don't know. I'm sorry. I thought because you're so a smog pump is a filter that's put on a car that caps all the crap that's coming out of the car, that basically all the pollutants.
Oh no, that's not what it does.
Well, then if you know what it
I,
is, tell me what it is.
now I know what you meant. I thought you meant something that was like mounted in the middle of the city up on a tower or something.
No, it's on the
The,
car.
the smog pump in the car is just an air pump. You're absolutely correct there. It's driven by belts. Nowadays, they're driven electrically.
Yeah.
And what they do is they pump fresh air into the exhaust as it comes out of the cylinder. And what it's believed to do, not believe, what it does is reduce the amount of nitrous oxides that are ended up produced from the engine burning, and which is good for the catalytic converter.
And there's actual science to show from the invention of that, and when they were like, hey, everybody in California needs one of these, it has really reduced the smog in the air.
Oh yeah,
But
it's definitely had something to do with it.
like in the mid 80s, the sky was brown. Literally the sky was brown, but because of the fires, regulations, and again, population, people do not care anymore. We have so many people here more than back then. The air is becoming crap again. But it's has a lot to do with how much the smoke goes up, all the particulates settle down, and we have the Santa Anas, so it picks it up and it just shoots dust everywhere. So with smog and dust in the air, it's like the 80s all over again. It's gross. California does have its setbacks.
Actually, Ox, that is true to a large degree, but California is still tougher than everybody else as far as standards. The car industry has two types of cars they sell in America: 49 states and California.
Yep.
So I've actually had the experience of living in Oregon. And I remember I got in a truck and I'm like, oh, this feels way different. It's not much of a difference, but we have California, we have laws on top of laws on top of laws here. Every year I look up all the new laws because it's mind-boggling. And you should do that where you live too, no matter where you live in the world, because they could pull, your local government could pull something on you, even something as easy as like moving parking structures or redesignating parking spaces, anything.
Yeah, it's a good idea to keep abreast of the new laws.
I'm really involved in all the local elections and everything because I drive really bad and get in fistfights. So I want to know the judges. I want to know. I'm kidding. I'm too old for all of that. No, ever since I got it, like I crashed a motorcycle, it made me feel invincible. I crashed a car and it made me realize I'm gonna die one day. So, so I don't drive fast at all anymore, not in any way, shape, or form.
I've never actually been, significantly injured in a car accident. Nothing that didn't heal on its own in 3 days.
I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky. I had a beautiful black Ford F-150. It was a Lightning. It was lowered. I loved that stupid thing. But if you put Slayer on, I'd start driving like an idiot. And when I say you, I mean me. And I crashed. Someone cut in front of me, and I'm lucky to be alive. But ever since then, it's slowed me down. Plus, you start getting perspective. Like, what's the point of, I have a kid. You got to live to be old and even more gray than I am now.
Yeah, well, that's what gets you is when you get the point of feeling you have to be responsible for someone else.
The number one thing that calmed my day-to-day driving down was having a dog in the car all the time. Because we should, but we don't tie them down in a car, and so you have to kind of drive with them in mind. You can't do radical turns, and you can't do radical acceleration and braking and stuff, and you just got to be a grandma. And so I did, because for my doggies.
Skid Scratcher is right. Like, California is the test state in a lot of things, but it's because of population. I had this conversation earlier. It's not because we're cool. It's not because every prom queen in America moves here. It's because we have massive amounts of people.
Well, virtually all the environmental laws we have were because they were passed first in California and adopted by other states later.
Oh, when I drive to Vegas or go anywhere out in the desert, there is an unreal amount of windmills. It's actually beautiful. I think it's beautiful. People think it's an eyesore, but someone who's from here, it's unreal to turn the corner in the Mojave Desert and you see 150 miles of windmills. It's unreal. And they're deep. And like when you're in the desert, spatial perception is real. So they look close. No, those windmills are way out in the middle of nowhere. It's just you could see them because it's flat land at that point.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to break up your view. It's just a flat plain.
I think it's beautiful, but I'm biased because I'm from California.
Okay,
so
Ox, California should not have the best milkshakes. Wisconsin is the dairy state. Even the federal government acknowledges that, because the price you pay for milk in the U.S. is based on the distance you are from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. That's actually how the federal government sets the subsidies and regulates the prices.
Hey, that's right over here.
To start a fight, you guys should take the tour. If you're ever in Tillamook, Oregon, take the tour at the Tillamook factory. They have great milkshakes there as well. And it's literally from the source. Tillamook, Oregon, on the West Coast. See, again, it's probably another West Coast thing. Tillamook makes cheese and ice cream. And probably milk, it's probably all dairy products, but I mainly eat cheese and ice cream. It's a staple of my diet.
Oh God, I'm having cheese urges right now. Thanks a lot.
I pretty much have to have cheese every day. I have to be more careful with the ice cream because for some reason that seems to get to my stomach. The cheese doesn't seem to bother me much.
Hey, brain bug. For me, everything goes to my lungs. So the older I get, I can't eat like an emancipated 13-year-old anymore. And even even my son eats healthier than I do. Like we'll go to the store. He makes good choices. He likes broccoli. He's in love with those with that fake meat. I think it's really disgusting. He's obsessed with that stuff and it's affordable. That plant meat, the near meat, like I've said a million times, it's disgusting. But hey,
Yeah. Well, like I
he
say,
likes
we got a pack of that of the impossible meat sausages, and just the smell of them in the pan was so bad neither of us could actually try to eat them.
I'm telling you. I am
Neither of
telling
us
you.
could get past the smell to even taste them, so I can't tell you what they taste like.
My son has grown up around fish, pig's feet, all kinds of things that people would normally eat. And I eat things that most people wouldn't normally eat. I eat all kinds of gross stuff. I can't do the near meat. And brain bug, yes, California does know how to party.
I don't like the current generation of the near meat stuff, but back when Boca burgers and stuff first came out, and they were primarily a bean based concoction, I found them to be really tasty, and I liked them a lot.
I'm
Boca burgers were pretty good. I will argue with anyone who says they tasted like meat. They didn't,
No, no.
but they were good for what they were.
I was obsessed with the veggie patties from Subway 20 years ago. Those were awesome. But it was just
Oh
pressed
yeah,
vegetables. That's all it was
I
into a
actually
patty.
I worked at Subway when they first brought those out.
I worked at one too in like the early 2000s.
What I would do with those things is, because I was seriously interested in not eating meat, and so I tried different ways to make these things taste as good as I could. And I found that my favorite recipe with a Boca burger was to, do the fry thing with it. And then just before you're done, you take a propane torch and you burn the shit out of it.
You
To give
know,
it that char kind of
Yeah,
taste feel.
you
I
And it was very satisfying.
I actually was doing the vegetarian thing for a year and a half. That ended when I worked at Subway because I was doing closing. So at the end of the night, like anything in the hot meats was not to be stored overnight. We were just throwing it out. And I was like, okay, if I'm trying to be a vegetarian for moral or environmental reasons, it makes no sense that I'm throwing away the meat. It would make more sense to eat it.
I never understood that. I never understood the waste. I was much more idealistic in my 20s. And so, I would always take the food home or give it to see. But when I worked at fast food places, I was in the heart of Los Angeles. So there were homeless people everywhere, even 22 years ago. And if anyone's seen Picard lately, it's eerily accurate when they describe Los Angeles of how gross it's become.
Well, I think the amount of food that we waste as Americans is just pathetic. Um, from grocery stores
Yeah.
that throw out perfectly good fruits and vegetables because they have a flaw on them, and people are too stupid to buy that just because it's got a little spot that is
Yeah.
meaningless.
Well, here
If
now,
if you count the whole supply chain of it getting from the fields into people's kitchens, in the US, we actually throw out 40% of the food produced.
that just makes me sick. Absolutely sick. Here in LA, we like major corporations, and it's not everybody, but all the food they don't sell, they give to the missions. Or they'll give to, bigger corporations because hundreds of thousands of people eat at the mission, every morning and every night.
Oh, and I'm glad Native Atheist brought this up because I had just heard about this today that Walmart is going to start phasing out tobacco sales. That
Are they
store by store, they're going to stop selling cigarettes.
That's crazy. Are they still gonna sell lighters? Because they're the only one that sells them at a decent price still.
That's a good question.
Good.
Sorry, I'm trying to eat while I'm on the stream, which in itself would not be difficult, except that I have a kitty cat who keeps trying to walk across the keyboard to get to the food.
Oh, yeah. I had a cat just roll up my back because she knows where her treats are.
I'm dying for a cup of noodles. they're terrible. They're great.
So let us welcome Sinister Porpoise.
Hello.
And I see Maya in the side chat.
Hi, I'm the Sinister Porpoise. When you think of Sinister Porpoises, think of the Sinister Porpoise.
Okay, and Jenny, that was a good attempt, but that sounded more like a sea lion than a porpoise.
Yeah, it did. Mhm.
Don't let me. Isaiah can do a seal, a porpoise. It's uncanny.
It's the only maritime creature I can do. So.
Okay, porpoises are mostly high pitched chirps.
Here, I can do a largemouth bass. Want to hear it?
No, not really. But I might be outvoted on that one.
Okay, all done.
Go ahead.
Well, you know what's on the bottom of Bass Lake?
Uh-uh.
Bass turds.
Oh, jeez.
Where's
Yeah.
Doc? Where's Doc?
It's a bad dad joke.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Where I live, they're phasing out tobacco in general. It's weird to me. I'm gonna say this because I'm cynical. It's weird to me to see the younger generation not smoking because every generation before them did. When I was a teenager, like everyone would tell my parents, like, oh, I'd get ratted on, for being seen in front of the movie theater smoking a cigarette,
Yeah,
People
well,
really-
I was in school in the 70s, and yeah, it was pretty much everybody. And, even the high school, there was an unofficial smoking area. They knew the kids were smoking there, and nobody said anything about it.
In my day, I live in LA. We have the Los Angeles sheriffs. They're just insane, and they had to make a law that they couldn't approach children anymore. That's how hardcore our sheriffs are. But when I was a kid, there was no such law. So they would make us take smoking classes if you got caught smoking during high school. But really, it was just like the red asphalt version of a video for smokers. So it would have that woman from the smoking commercial. Do you ever remember the woman that had the hole in her throat?
Yep.
They would show her daily life and the process that she had to do every day. They were basically just trying to scare you.
It does a good job.
Most people I know quit smoking. Most people I know.
Yeah. Well, the reason I never started was when I was a teenager and my brother was on leave from the Navy. I distinctly remember standing in the hallway with him, and he pulled out the pack of cigarettes and started tapping them down. And he looked at me so seriously and said, "Don't ever touch these things. You can't quit them." And it was just so rare for him to be serious about anything that really had a major impact on me.
I always tell my son to look at the health of his mother and I. And he's like, yeah, you guys are extremely unhealthy.
So
it works. It worked. He said the other day, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to smoke.
So there's a question for Ox. When is your whole atheist get-together thing in Indiana going on? Have I missed it? Do I have the right person? That's another good question. 'Cause I think I'm thinking of Oz.
Ox lives in the Carolinas.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Oz. Never mind. It's late.
It's okay.
No, I've made so many mistakes lately. It's not even funny.
It's really difficult for me online in general, just in general, because I have a hard time, connecting names and everything. So especially when you get in a situation that people are using 3 different names for the same person, I can't keep straight who's who.
No, and there's quite a few people that get canceled and come back with sock accounts. So you could be saying hi to someone you cursed out 2 years ago and not even know it.
I've had that too, and I'm not sure that Bionic Dance would be friends with me if she realized the account I used for 6 months before I created this one and was commenting on her videos.
I used my I had my real name on this account for a long time until I started getting weird friend requests from the wrong people, not from the people I wanted. Gosh, that was almost 4 years ago.
That's impressive.
And
Athena.
disappearing kitty.
That's not a good place for her to be.
Careful, it's a mess out here.
And talk to the hand.
Isaiah always
Athena,
has
you
to
just
come
take
and
care of
say
those
hello.
papers.
I
You need
am.
the dishes.
Oh, don't be a sniffer. I had an ex-girlfriend tell me that one time, and it was some of the best advice I ever got in my life.
It is.
So I am fixing this 1950s Japanese star sewing machine, and it's a replica of a 1939 singer, and I'm bringing it back to life, but it's a lot more work. So it's going to take a couple of days.
Okay.
Today is for the next couple of minutes. Today is the Transgender Day of Visibility.
And then it's April Fool's.
Yep.
At 9 o'clock in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I put it off. I was meaning to start a push for getting people to recognize National Apology Day, which is April 2nd, where you find out if all the friends you played April Fool's pranks on are still going to be your friends.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
I have one that's so good, but I don't know if anyone here could handle it, and I don't know if I should pull it out. But it's so good. I have to bring it up, and I think it's funny. To
It's
be
okay
as
by
cryptic
me.
to be
Yeah,
as
the
cryptic
key
as
is
possible.
The key is you have to determine whether the person you're doing it to will think it's funny afterward.
Of all the expressions I've ever hated from my employers, native atheist, that one takes the cake.
It's not like you're going to slap somebody on camera, you know. It's
No, but if Freddy Krueger walked in here, we'd go viral really quick. You'd be famous.
Listen, if it were Darth Dawkins and I were on camera, I would take that assault charge.
You know what's really funny? I know because I'm really Hollywood, okay? I grew up watching a lot of old school Hollywood. I love animation. I'm really good at spotting who the actor is. Like I love Princess Mononoke, and in the American version, there's Billy Baldwin, not Billy Baldwin, Jada Pinkett Smith is in it. I think Claire Danes, like all kinds of famous people is in it, and I can spot every person's voice right off the bat. If I heard that man's voice, I would know right off the bat. I'd probably swing on him. I'd at least identify, like, hey, and then swing on him.
Yeah, well, I have the prosopagnosia pretty badly, the face blindness.
Mm.
So I'm much more likely to recognize voices than faces. And I do that a lot when I'm watching a new piece of animation. It's like, I can pretty quickly pick up the voice actors and connect them to the characters they were in other shows.
Absolutely. I'm really good at that. If there was a game show where it was spot the voice, I would shock people on that one. But not with modern actors, because when if there's anything that exposes me, like when there's modern award shows on, I am like, who are any of these people? I don't know any of the new actors. It makes me feel old. I'm not hip, I'm not up on all the new stuff.
I never paid much attention to celebrities anyway. But I
I had
mean,
my era.
even with people day to day, it's like I don't recognize faces. So actually, if they come up behind me and I hear the voice before I see the face, I'm more likely to recognize them.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sorry I said her name, but yes, native atheist. Um, if Will, where I'm from, it's a rule that if someone slaps you, that's a declaration of war. That is a declaration of war. Go to West Hollywood. Go to the quote unquote gay side of town and slap somebody and see what happens and watch how fast you get knocked out. Come to my side of town and slap somebody. Chris Rock actually had restraint, and I really respect Chris Rock. That's an adult, because I would have tackled Will Smith. They would have never invited me back ever again.
Could you imagine though? What if they did start to duke it out right there? God Almighty, would that have been
That would have been the brawl.
shocking?
Do you know Jason Momoa was in that crowd? The Rock was in that. There are some big individuals. If there was a brawl,
Okay, here's the one that Ox did.
oh, I'm sorry. If you know what, if someone even comes at me like that, I'm getting in my Billy Blank stance. Like I I know Chris Rock is like turn the other cheek type. I am not. I'm tired of Will Smith, and that's just because he's taken over every genre I'm into, even sewing. People are talking
Well,
about it on YouTube.
Have you considered getting into computer programming?
I'm about to. I watch a lot of old British television, so they don't talk about Will Smith because Will Smith wasn't even alive in a lot of the shows that I watch. So
Yeah, Red Dwarf never mentions Will Smith.
I kind of like right now. I'm rewatching Voyager and Deep Space Nine at the same time. Great shows.
They
So
don't
those are
mention Will Smith either.
yeah, and those are in the background.
now see, and those come centuries after, so they should have known all about him.
I get tired of the endless speculation. We saw what happened. We all say what we would have done, but like there's just different rules. Did the Kings win? Is that a win? But if they just have different rules for I can't stand the Flames. Good, we beat the Flames. I just don't like it how celebrities have different rules. Perp, if you were to walk up and,
Yeah.
and slap Chris Rock, you would be in county jail. They'd put you
Yep.
in there for a while.
Well, but they said today on the news that the police were there and were going to arrest Will Smith, and Chris Rock talked him out of it. He said no.
And the Academy said that they asked Will Smith to leave and he refused.
Well, he knew he was going to get that award.
I think he's I don't like, for as much as a snarky person that I am, and I brag about being middle class, I cannot stand people and senses of entitlement. Like when I go to work, like I drive a tractor. I shoot horses.
Yeah, Will Smith is he's definitely let the fame go to his head.
I
He
can't.
really thinks he's better than everyone else.
I don't like that. I don't like that because I'm telling you, like, there's rules to this stuff, and especially for Black men, like there are rules. There are codes of conduct. Where I live, if you walked around slapping somebody, you're gonna catch that wrong person. So I'm just Will Smith hurt my feelings. I don't know which slap hurt my feelings more this year, when Q slapped Picard or when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. I don't know.
I still have to watch the second season of Picard.
I don't know. Oh, it hurt. It was like someone slapped my grandma and it made me watch. It was awful.
But I'm waiting for the third season of Lower Decks.
Oh, Lower Decks is amazing. But I'm just saying, I'm tired of the us and them. Like there's so much division in this world, and Will Smith just reminded us how much he gets treated different than the rest of us.
Yeah.
If I acted like that, I'd be in county. I would be in county. Ooh. I'm over it. And if you saw how Jada acts, like the worst thing that ever happened to Will Smith was YouTube, because Jada and Will started having YouTube channels.
I want to know why he was laughing about the joke when it was told, but then minutes later went up and did the punch.
Because Jada wasn't laughing, and he turned and looked at her. And what Maya's saying is 100% accurate, like to the point where like people are shaking their heads, because the sheriffs are dickheads here. If a black person walks past the sheriffs, they turn their heads. Like the sheriffs are out of control here. So the fact that Will Smith got to do whatever he wanted is unreal.
Okay, Jenny just put this in a different light for me, because I didn't see, I wasn't watching the Oscars, and I've only seen the clips afterwards. I didn't realize that there was a significant delay. I thought he had gone up there right when he had told the joke.
I never tried to actually count the time, but I think it was at least like a minute. It felt like that anyway.
Yeah, but
he laughed.
If it wasn't right away, if he was on to the next joke already before he got to him, that does change my opinion of how that happened.
Have I mentioned that it's been nearly a week and I still don't care?
I really don't either. I was just,
I do.
like I say,
I do.
It kind of changes if it wasn't an immediate response.
I'm of that age where Will Smith almost saved the earth as many times as Richard Dean Anderson. So, and a year ago, Will Smith, I've said this will be the second time I've said it on the stream. There's an interview where Will Smith calls Donald Trump an atheist, and even the person interviewing Will Smith is like, he goes to church, like, and Will Smith is like, no, he's an atheist. At that point, Will Smith and I broke up like a year ago. I was like, I'm done with you. I'm done with you.
I hate to break it to you, but Donald Trump only went to church
once
as a cynical ploy.
No. My whole point is Donald Trump never says, he doesn't identify as an atheist. It doesn't even matter. Will Smith was trying to say that atheists are evil. And so he was latching that on to Donald Trump.
But I'm pretty sure Donald...
I was like, I'm done with you, bro. Yeah. I am done with you.
Well, I don't think Donald Trump is an atheist in the same way I don't think cats are atheists. He thinks he is a god.
But atheists, like I say this all the time because we need a reality check sometimes. Posey Parker is an atheist. Like atheist is just the belief, it's the same old spiel, the non-belief. It takes all kinds.
I'm looking something up. Because I'm pretty sure Trump has admitted to being an atheist, but I want to double check it.
Well, I don't get the people who continue to say that he's a godly man and all this. I mean, if nothing else, that picture of him holding the Bible upside down, with all the conspiracies they believe in, why didn't anybody say that was a satanic symbol?
When any human being says to me, oh, do it for God, or what would Jesus do? I instantly think ill of that person. And since I was a teenager, I'm like, what are you hiding behind? Because to me, you're taking the conversation away from how crappy you are, and you're hiding behind your sky daddy. Yeah. I've always thought that was BS since I was a kid. I've always thought that was just bullshit. Because I buy and sell stuff, and I've bought and sold cars when I was a kid, and I speak Spanish, and people would always come to me and be like, oh, do it for Jesus. I would tack on an extra $500. Be like, no, the price just jumped.
Why does Commander 401's name always make me think of the Amiga?
It my son, that was one of his handles. It was like, I don't know, one of his handles was Kami Commander. So the first time I saw Commander 401, I thought my son had switched his handle.
Yeah, but the Amiga's a computer, or was.
Yeah, well, it always makes me think of Commodore 64 if I just kind of catch it in the peripheral.
All right. Apparently, Trump did not admit to being an atheist.
I just didn't. It just drove me crazy how Will Smith, like, bro, that's when like the road was still burning. People, man, like, people were still getting beat up in the streets, and Will Smith was blaming atheists, and I was like, GTFO, man, GTFO. I always had I do not hold people in high regards. I don't believe in gods, masters, none of that BS. But I liked Will Smith. I did the Wild Wild West dance. I did the MIB dance. Like, I'm an active guy, and like I said, we broke up a year ago. I've been over Will Smith.
Oh, are you kidding, Commander?
I don't think that's real.
I like it. I'm gonna come back and write that one down, though. I'm gonna come back later and pause it and write that down. Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh.
And you know what? Will Smith is a just a distraction story because everybody's just talking about it.
There's nothing wrong with a good distraction. The news has been kind of depressing lately.
I agree. I've gone back to watching a ton of VHSs. So I'm
tons of anti-trans bills. Although interestingly, the governor of Utah vetoed one. Indiana buried its anti-trans bill.
Indiana did? Huh.
Yeah.
You're
That's
kidding.
good.
Well, a lot of the bills Indiana has been trying to pass have a lot of really stupid parts to them. It's like,
Well, that's not surprising.
and the Senate's been like, it's like, we're going to put this with the bill where you guys tried to legislate the value of pi and just forget it ever happened.
Yeah.
Didn't they actually try that?
Indiana's the only state to have tried it.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that they would have started running into problems, like with people manufacturing wheels.
Mark Caesar, I have a working tape deck. I have a working 8-track player. I have an N64, a Sega. I have a bunch of laser discs, but I don't have a laser disc player. When I find one, we'll see if it works.
Do you have a wire recorder?
No, but I have you know what? I'm gonna make a video of all the weird and odd crap I have in this house. I have I call myself an archaeologist, but really I just miss having a Walkman. Let's be real.
Would that be more like a sparkeologist?
A long time ago, gosh, this was a long time ago. I was a manager at a Carl's Jr. in Portland, Oregon, 20-something years ago. And I said out loud, "Oh, man, I feel like Al Bundy." And this kid was sweeping the floor, and he looked at me, and he's like, "Who's Al Bundy?" And it made me feel old. And that was 20 years ago. So I'm a procurer of the past. I'm like a time lord, or those aliens in Indiana Jones, the ones that had all the crap.
Will, once in a while you do see wire recorders on eBay. You could get one.
You know who has the Isaiah, because we go to locker auctions, we go to all kinds of fun stuff. So he's now learned to play what's in that case. It's actually he actually become an eagle eye.
What, you buy storage lockers?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Have you ever bought one and you wind up with some really disgusting stuff you have to dispose of?
I'm desensitized, so if your grandma has a dildo, I don't judge. If anyone's grandma has a dildo, I don't judge. Like
I meant more like finding something that had been decomposing.
Oh no, because the company goes in and I swear most of the companies take out the really good stuff. Like if there's a Van Gogh, unless it's really packed, unless it's like really, really packed. And it's not like the TV show at all. It's a bunch of really scuzzy guys with money and trucks. It's not as exciting as the TV show. And I have
What? You mean the TV show edits things for the drama?
I've bought a locker and given it to somebody because they came to buy their own stuff. Because I've been homeless before and I know how it is. So I outbid somebody and gave the locker to someone.
Aw.
Yeah, dude, man,
That
I
was nice of you because you never know if there's things like family photo albums or just things that are of personal value that would have no value to you.
when I was younger, I got excommunicated from my family and I had a lot of nice stuff and it got either like stolen from a family member or just rotted away in the ranch house somewhere. So I know how it is to have people just to lose things that are precious to you and that you could never replace. So when I was confronted with it, I just decided to do the right thing, because in any other circumstance, I'm a vulture.
Right.
But
if anyone wants to see it, I actually dropped the link to a story explaining how Indiana tried to legislate pie back in, I think it was 1897.
oh, that's
Someone wants to
crazy.
share that in chat.
And honestly, I want your grandmother.
1897. I thought they had done it, much more recently.
No.
That's like the Scopes trial. I have a documentary on the Scopes trial, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever. How can you put God on? Like, God can't go on trial. Like, but I'm a nihilist. I believe in nothing.
That's not what the Scopes trial was doing. The Scopes trial was putting the theory of evolution on trial.
Yeah, but in the end, it was like,
Yeah, I actually think that the Scopes trial did a lot of damage to Christianity because one of their big slogans was "Read your Bible."
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we all know what happens, when people actually start reading the Bible rather than just listening to the cherry-picked bits the preacher gave them.
Yeah, it makes you an atheist.
Thank you for showing your tail on screen, Athena.
Heck yeah, Marshall's. I still have all my Michael Jackson records. See, my dad was a hoarder, so it's cheating. Like I still have my Boy Scout uniforms, like all my like really cool jackets. My son has a old leather.
I think you should wear your Boy Scout uniform sometime.
I can't fit in my Boy Scout uniform, but I have my dad's Scoutmaster one, but like just like the American flag, there's a lot of weird implications behind the Scoutmaster, and like, man, my pops was an awesome dude, so I don't want to, people say stupid things about the Scoutmaster, and my troop, we just learned how to camp, and I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say it because it's that indecent, but. And I still have the one that made me laugh, that made me was like, yeah, I still got it. I still have my junior high gym shirt and I still fit in it, kind of. Kind of.
I want to see the Scout uniform.
Yeah.
You'll be the first of my OnlyFans.
Did you have short pants?
Oh, you want to go full German lederhosen with the shorts and the suspenders?
Oh no, I'm used to those. That's normal to me.
I still have the jean jacket I wore in high school. I still wear it as a work jacket.
This it's so funny you say that. This that I'm wearing right now was my dad's coat from when I was a little kid, and this is a Levi's signature from the 70s or 80s. And it still lives on. It still lives on.
Okay,
So,
and the link I just dropped there was the one Sinister Porpoise shared about Indiana legislating pie.
that was one cool thing about moving back to my hometown is that I found a lot of my old stuff because my pops was a hoarder.
Yeah, by the time I got back, when my mom was cleaning out our childhood home, everything was pretty much cleared out already. So everyone else got to pick through the stuff. There wasn't anything left there for me.
My mom did this really cynical thing where she separated everyone's, because we all hate each other and it bothers her. So she separated everyone's picture and put it in boxes. And she was like, come and get your stuff. I'm tired of you guys hating each other. One less thing to fight over. It's actually smart, you know. You can't can't. My brother was like mad about a Robotech book from how many years ago. And when he got it back, I told him to shut the F up. Here's your Robotech book.
Well, I was mad about a bunch of stuff, and this wasn't when my mom was cleaning the house out. This was 20 years before. That when I had gone away to school, I had a bunch of stuff stored there, including my collection of all of the Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica figures from the first release when the movies first came out in the 70s. All that stuff disappeared, so one of my nephews got it and no one will own up to it.
I am evil. I saw one of my hockey jerseys in my cousin's closet and I grabbed it and he didn't say anything to me.
Yeah, but
I was
I know the toy collector market. So it's like, even though those were ones that I had opened and played with and all, just because they were the first release, I know some of those figures were probably worth a couple $100 each.
Oh, that's like at my mom's house, I'm still looking for all my old G.I. Joes. I had everyone. I had all of them. I had Refrigerator Perry. I had all the rare ones, all the like ones from the 80s all the way up to the 90s. And I can't find them. But there's still a ton of places they could be. But each one is worth an outrageous amount of money.
All right. Well, I have got a calculus test tomorrow morning, so long, everybody, and thanks for all the fish.
Well, thanks for stopping in.
Good talking to you.
So we'll catch you later.
Calculate well.
All right. So here's my thing with my April Fool's thing. I don't think people can take the joke. Is the thing, or maybe it's not a joke. How about that? Should I just send it to you, and then you can decide? Purple.
You think it hits too close to reality?
Well, I'll send it to you, and then you tell me.
Yeah.
And then you tell me, because you wouldn't be able to say that's not me either way.
Oh, and Mark, I can't label my place a museum, but I have developed the world's simplest organizing system that puts everything in its place. I just put a sign on my front door that says miscellaneous.
I have so much stuff that if you put it in a warehouse, I would be embarrassed. And it wasn't until like I had a lot of stuff, but then I inherited all my dad's stuff and I became a real life hoarder. So I'm almost embarrassed at the amount of stuff I have.
Yeah, well, I moved into a smaller apartment and I've got a storage locker I kind of need to get rid of. So I do need to, thin out my collections and sell off a bunch of stuff. And one of the problems is I need to acknowledge that, I'm not going to be doing the kind of work I used to do. And it's really difficult for me to start selling off my tools.
I just have a lot of stuff. Excuse me. And a lot of my dad's old equipment has aged out. Like he has stuff for HP computers from 15, 20 years ago, cords that don't exist anymore, So I don't know. I've been downsizing a lot lately. I've been getting rid of a lot of stuff.
I have lost some things along the way, like back in the late 90s, I lost my collection of Commodore gear because I had it in a spare room at a friend's house, and was not aware that she had not been paying taxes on the house for several years, and so the county claimed the house, and I never got my stuff out of it.
Oh, that's the worst. That's another reason why I would go bend over backwards to help somebody that loses their stuff, because it's happened to me and it's terrible. And Mark Caesar, we have the same thing here in LA, where they have one day where you can leave your stuff on the street, but we also have pickers. So people will leave their stuff out, like a couch or something, because they know a scrapper will come by and take it. We have armies of scrappers here.
Yeah, now see, I think this would be a good thing for cities all around the US to do, because I think it would get rid of a lot of the junk and litter problem. Part of the problem, people who are on a budget a lot of times can't afford to properly dispose of things, especially like furniture items.
Oh, absolutely.
As somebody who belongs to a family that owns storage lockers, no, don't do that. We want to rent storage lockers, so people need to have more and more junk.
They're building more and more storage lockers around here, and it's just bad sign of the times, because everybody's renters.
Yep.
No one owns anything anymore. And when I say, like, they're building 4 at the same time right now, it's kind of an eyesore. But I'm old school. I hate it when they shave down a mountain just to put a building up. Like, I don't get it.
Well, the storage locker seems like, it'd be a good business to get into. I mean, you've got a sizable capital investment, but once you've covered that, you don't really have a lot of operating expenses.
No, and the rent is, man, you get like 50, 60 people. The rent takes care of itself in a couple months,
The maintenance of the buildings is not to be sneezed at.
No, not
you get a big long storage building. If it happens to be in a flat roof building, man, your roofing is going to cost you dearly. Plus, people are really lazy and careless, and they fuck up the garage doors all the time. My brother probably replaces 24 garage doors a year.
Oh, heck yeah. People are
Yeah, the one on my locker was bad the day I moved in, and they still haven't fixed it.
I fixed mine with a screwdriver and WD-40. Mine was kind of hanky, and I made it better than the day it was put in.
Well,
Mine
this one
pops
keeps
right off.
binding up, so yeah, I think it was previously damaged. Maybe somebody backed into it and bent something, but it always binds up halfway open.
And then the other thing that happens is, if you're an owner of these companies that provide storage, is you get people who, for one reason or another, have to get rid of a bunch of stuff, and what they will do is fill that storage locker with the stuff every square centimeter with whatever junk they have, whether it's old washers and dryers to rotten food. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
they
yeah.
will just fill it to the ceiling and then skip out on rent.
That's how
I can see that it's cheaper than renting a skip.
That's how I scored half my toolboxes. My dad, they threw the locker open, and my dad's eyes lit up because he saw the boxes. Somebody either owned a Harbor Freight or jacked a Harbor Freight or something, but there were 15 toolboxes in there. They're all up at the ranch. I have 1, 2, 1 right there, 3. Oh, 1 in the corner, 4. I have 5 of them just in my house. It was that was a crazy locker, but the person had them stacked on top of each other, and it was all just boxes. So if you didn't know what you were looking at, you're just like, what the hell is this? But my pops knew right away what they were. And they were all like either Harbor Freight or Husky, which is Husky Lowe's?
No, Husky is a Home Depot store brand.
Which one? I have so many. Yeah, that's Husky. The black ones are Husky. The red ones are Craftsman.
Hey, Wanderer.
The Husky toolboxes aren't that bad.
No, they're awesome. Even the what are they called? The Harbor Freight ones are, man, I have a Harbor Freight rollaway. I don't shake my finger at it. That thing's awesome. Hey, Lone, that
Yeah.
thing's
I
awesome.
don't have a real opinion on the Husky stuff. I own some wrenches and random hand tools, but I don't feel I've made heavy enough use of any of them to really have much opinion. They do their job. I haven't broken anything.
Same. That's my rule. Like even today when I was redoing this sewing machine, like I don't care if it's Cobalt, if it's this is probably 99-cent store, this is probably Lowe's. Like if it works, it works, I could care less.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, I bought Craftsman because the warranty was good.
Mm-hmm.
You just took it to any Sears store, they would give you, a replacement for it or the closest thing, if that model had been discontinued. And they were really good about that because even stuff that had clearly been abused and used for something it wasn't intended for never got an argument.
Oh, that's right up my alley. Like slightly damaged. There's a sticker on. I have a stand over here, and I covered it in stickers, and it's all from a lot of the clothes that I would either find or buy. And one had if it has a slightly damaged sticker on it, I save those. I'll wear it all day, see who notices.
Oh yeah, I bought a lot of stuff off the clearance racks, the slightly damaged stuff.
And I'm not telling any secrets that people in America do not know. Old Navy's clearance section is out of control. I've bought a pair of pants for $2 at Old Navy, and they were
Really?
yes. My ex-wife taught me that 100 years ago. Go to Old Navy to their clearance section. It's still to this day. I took Isaiah there last week because I was feeling froggy. And it's still cheap. I bought a couple t-shirts for $1 each because they're getting rid of last season stuff. And I'm a fashionista. I don't care. I'll wear last season stuff. I don't care.
Town not too far from here, there's an outlet mall, and there's an Old Navy outlet store there.
Oh yeah, that's even cheaper. An outlet store. They recently put in a Nike outlet, but I really never wore Nike, and my dad used to always tell me like, man, people get shot over Jordans. So I always wore skate shoes. So I never really wore Nikes as a kid.
My favorite tool to find, they're hard to find in America. You just don't see them much. Is an English brand that shows up once in a while by the name of King Dick.
Oh, I know.
I have not encountered that one.
Yeah, there's some great tools. They have King Dick on them, and you go look at the tool and you go, it's just funny as heck.
My pops, because he's passed away, I can tell the story. Somewhere, maybe in my possession, I have tools that say property of the United States Navy on them. And there's a bunch that say United States of America on them. And one day I asked this stupid question. I walked into my dad and I said, where did you get this? And he would always say 1969. He'd say the year. He would never say where he got it, But of course, it was from the ship he was on.
The military used to have all kinds of different tools, of course. They still do. But the tools that they had were just the standard kind of stuff you'd buy from Snap-on or whatever. Nice, beautiful, well-made chrome sockets and all this kind of stuff. And they had such a theft problem in the military that they stopped chrome plating them, and the theft problem dropped like precipitously, like 0.75% or more, because people didn't want the black, non-chrome, non-fancy looking sockets.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, but I wonder what kind of finish they put on them, to protect them from the sea air, because that was...
just some oxidizing and would do it.
Those wrenches still work. They're in the rotation. I have so many tools though, because my father was an electrical engineer. It's not even funny. So they're in the rotation. But don't steal from the Navy. That's my don't take any medical advice from Godless Sewing ever.
Nothing on this channel should ever be taken as medical or legal advice.
Ever. So I don't even want to. So is my picture that bad, Perp? Have you looked at the picture I sent you?
Sorry.
No,
Take
no,
two,
no.
Check
take,
for it.
take
No.
2 aspirin. Call me after the court case.
No. If you think it's offensive, don't show it. If you think it's insensitive, don't show it.
I must be missing something because I don't see why you think this would be a problem.
I think it's a great picture.
Well, who is that?
Who indeed?
Well, I will put it up there, but I'm missing something, so maybe somebody's
I
gonna
don't want to be.
offended by
I just don't want.
something
I
get.
laugh every. This is a great picture, and so I just didn't want to be insensitive to anybody. That's all. Put it. You could throw it up.
Bah, bah, bah. There we go.
It was the 90s. Malls all across America had the action shots, the snapshots, and this was the famous background shot.
Yep. Yeah, the glamour shots and everything.
So, do you know this person?
Well, I see him all the time.
The bear or the person?
Both. Matter of fact, I got both actually.
You have a person like that in your house? Frozen, freeze dried stuff?
Yeah, in a freezer. I live in California. Don't say that out loud too many times. They'll rip my front door open for that one.
Now, see, that was one thing where I lived in Michigan. That it wasn't really a problem if you needed to get rid of something. Because all over the place, there were open mine pits and mine shafts.
I feel sorry for the bears living in those mine shafts or the creepy hobo. Maybe the creepy hobo just wants to be left alone and not live in a trash dump, you know?
Well, I found it much more convenient to live out in the rural areas. Well, never mind.
I lived at the beach. I'll tell you, when I was homeless, like even when I didn't have a car, when I got off of work on Fridays, I would go to the beach. Like, what's the point of being all miserable in the city when you can have beachfront property?
Now, don't they outlaw people sleeping on the beach and stuff like that now?
Oh, they did some really cynical shit. If you really want to get into it, they would have beachcombers, and I'm not kidding you. There was one time where I legitimately had to get up and run because I think the beachcomber would have ran me over.
Oh,
yeah. So they are heartless, and this was 24 years ago, 23 years ago. They were heartless. You know,
well, their job is to get the debris off the beach, you know.
Yeah, but murder doesn't look good on your resume. Eventually, like you can't. Where I live, this is why the whole Will Smith thing pisses me off. Like, man, all the time we are impressed on how our detectives catch people. Like the detectives would be like, "Nah, this guy did this and this," and we're like, "Wow, like you can't get away with shit in LA." But Will Smith can walk up and smack Chris Rock live on TV. Let a normal person commit a crime. They will throw the book at you and put your whole life on TV.
Yep.
You know. Let Joe Schmo, who just minds his own business and goes to work every day, like they'll go out of their way to shame somebody. So
that was just noticing Jenny just changed her picture. The goofy dragonfly.
A damselfly. Damselflies are the small blue ones.
Yep. Well, dragonflies come in all colors too.
Yeah, but they're not damselflies.
Yeah.
What's
Now,
a
yes.
damselfly? Do they?
A damselfly looks to the untrained eye like a dragonfly, except they're much thinner in every respect, and they're tiny. They're only about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches long tops. And there's probably different colors. I'm not aware of them, but I only see them in blue, like the picture up there.
Yes, they
You
do
know-
come in different colors.
I almost forgot about this. I almost forgot about this.
Oh no, the fez. Oh,
Now I officially either look like I'm in the Flintstones. And you know what the funny thing is? I'm not kidding you. The man's real name was Purple. You make me big for a second. His name was Bernie Berninson. Berninston. If I was ever to have an alias fake name, it would be Bernie Berninston. So if you see Bernie Berninston, that is me. This is my. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is made for me. And plus, the guy at the antique store, he's like, I don't feel comfortable having this because he sees the Islam and it scares him. Because I live in a really right wing area.
Yep.
So he damn near gave it to me.
yeah. Well, the Shriners got an issue with that in Milwaukee. There's the Shriners Temple, which is not really a temple. It's the Shriners. They're a men's organization that does charity work and stuff. But it looks just like, well, it looks more like the Taj Mahal more than it looks like anything out of AAA. But
I think
it's unbelievably ornate, and tiles and mosaics on the outside and gold and just all kinds of shit.
yes,
It's
Mark
amazing.
Caesar. I am officially an Austin Powers villain. If you've ever seen that scene,
Yep.
in Austin Powers. I love the fact. I love this thing. I absolutely love this thing.
I do have mixed feelings about the Shriners because I know they've been involved in some, pretty nasty stuff. But at the same time, I do have a friend in one of my toy collector groups that, he was born with a pretty serious deformity. And, the Shriners hospitals gave his family, free treatment for it, without which he probably would have never been able to walk.
Same here. The Shriners do massive amounts of work in Hollywood and Los Angeles in general. They do massive amounts of work. And they drive tiny cars in the Hollywood parade every year.
And they gave me my first tickets to a Green Bay Packer game.
There you go.
And had me. Well, they weren't really tickets. It was field passes, so I could photograph the games.
Oh, that's awesome!
Oh, cool.
Yes, it was. First two Packer games you ever to in your life, and you're on the sidelines.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I was only 17.
But I don't know if he was trying to upsell me, but he's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to have this and blah, blah, blah. But then I looked online and there's a ton of these. But the thing is that this came from an actual person. So I don't know.
Well, I've never encountered one, but yeah, if I just saw one, at a thrift store or something, I would feel kind of weird about it too, and just because of the kind of the reputation of the club and all, of whether or not that's something that anyone in the public is supposed to have.
I watch a lot of black woo-woo of people like Bobby Hammett. I watch a lot of like 5% Muslim stuff because it entertains me and it makes me laugh. And I love strong black men. Even if I don't believe in their religions, I love what they're saying. But with that being said, the second I saw this fez, I was like, oh, I need a fez because I'm all about blasphemy. And what's more asinine than wearing a fez of a religion that you don't believe in,
I'm just wondering if you wouldn't get into trouble on some level today if you wore that on the streets.
No,
in
I
the
would.
right neighborhoods, you know.
I would. And see, the thing is, like, if I wore this in like, see, it's different. Like in LA, the Black Hebrew Israelites and other organizations would spot this right away and be like, that's the most awesome thing I've ever seen in my life, even if they don't agree with me, you know, because they know the significance behind it. And a lot of people of color wear fezzes in the first place, at least back in the conscious movement in the late 90s, well, in the 80s, late 90s, and the early 2000s. Hey, vibrantly, what is that?
I was just wondering if the Fez came with a little car with 30 guys in it.
That's what it makes me think of. Hey, vibrantly, if you want to poison yourself, I don't judge. Go right ahead. Smoke. I smoke pot like it's going out of style. Like,
Well,
you know.
I had to highlight this because he does have a valid point. They do use nicotine in solution as a pesticide on crops.
Oh yeah.
That's
Do
why
not ever touch a tomato plant after you've been smoking.
Is that why I can't stop eating lettuce? Is that why I'm so addicted to lettuce?
No, there's a group of flowers called nicotinia. They're really very beautiful garden flowers and stuff. But they produce nicotine, and there's a lot of plants that you can't grow around them because they'll kill them.
Oh wow, I agree with native atheists.
Well, and that's actually one of the problems with tobacco is the stuff poisons the soil, so they can't really grow anything else there afterward.
You see, I grew pot, and all it did was make me sleepy, happy, and hungry.
Yeah, but, you know, as opposed, I mean, our farming methods are bad to begin with as far as how much, you know, fertilizer and pesticides they need just to keep growing food crops. But with tobacco, it's even worse how much they have to enrich the soil every year just to keep things growing.
You know, Jenny, I live in a very borderline Trumpy neighborhood. If I wore this around,
Oh, jeez.
There would be some white guys trying to jump me. I'd have to have a baseball bat.
You'd be on the news.
Yeah. because it's like where I live, people will say like, oh, this is the last bastion of the suburbs. What they're really saying is this is the last bastion of white people having a majority of living anywhere in Southern California. But so I would get jumped.
What I would really wonder about is if you were wearing that in public and you got confronted by a couple of guys who actually were members of the Shriners.
They would jump me just the same. And that's another thing. Like the people who I don't take any of this serious. So I would deserve to get punched in the face if I walked around in public with it. In no way, shape, or form do I believe in their religion. I collect things like this as a mockery because of my love for blasphemy. You know, I think things like this are hilarious. And plus, I watched way too much Matt Smith, Doctor Who. So the second I saw a fez, I thought of Matt Smith. There was no religious implications in my head. I'm thinking of like, I'm a doctor now. Like I'm like Doctor Who, you know?
Well, yeah, and I could see if it was just blank, if it didn't have the,
Islam,
you know, the name and all on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Doc.
Doc.
Hey, Doc.
Kind of wondering where you were.
Hey, I gotta leave for about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be here for a while.
That's why I was because I always go to my cultural advisors, aka my mother and my son. And my mom was like, "Oh, you will get beat up. You will get beat up." You know, people are scared of Islam where I live because most people aren't educated, and quite honestly, people who practice the religion stick to themselves, and I don't blame them because people are ignorant and they treat people with disrespect. You know, so what they know are of if they happen to have a neighbor who is, you know, it's different in America than it is in the UK.
I encounter absolutely nobody who's Islamic.
Exactly.
that I'm aware of.
Here we have a large population of people who are, but quite honestly, Los Angeles in general is ethnically divided, so there's just people genuinely stick to themselves.
Well, and I work in a hotel, so I imagine I've had plenty of guests that were. I just, they just never broached the topic. Curiously enough, none of the Islamic people at my hotel have tried to put holy water on my head. That's only been the Catholics. So
Here's an interesting thing I found out that you don't see publicized. In a lot of hotels and a lot of the big chains have even done this. If you look around the room, if there is an arrow on the ceiling in one corner, that is pointing the direction to Mecca so they know where to pray.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
You know, what Mark Caesar is saying is absolutely true, because and that's why I am extremely respectful with it, because it's different. Like, I went to the UK, and man, there is open hatred for people who believe in arm, leg, arm, head. Here in America, Americans are really indifferent. Like, and like Mark said, like, some of the most honorable people I've ever met in my life are Islamic, you know. So I
Well,
don't judge.
again, I won't generalize for any one religion because there are different sects of Islamic people, and what the values that the different sects push are not all the same. Let's say.
Oh no, trust me,
because unfortunately, some of them think that killing heathens is honorable.
There was
marrying children is okay.
or putting hands on your wife. I probably told the story 100 times. When my ex-wife was pregnant with my son, we went to Coco's at like 12 o'clock at night because she had the munchies. And this guy was literally putting hands on his girlfriend in the parking lot. My ex called the cops, and I'm like, hey, stop that. This guy turned and pulled a gun on both of us. And the cops came within 10 seconds because I live in the suburbs. But my whole point is, he was of a different culture. And he kept on saying, in my culture, I can do whatever I want. That's my wife. That's my wife. And in America, you can't beat people up in public. Well, unless you're
you're lucky the cops responded that fast, because in a lot of places, you would have been lying on the pavement and he would have been gone before they got there.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was one of those things, like, and I ask her all the time, I'm like, you still do crazy stuff like that? And she's like, nope. No. But we were kids. This was 13 years ago. We were kids.
That's kind of where I'm at with culture and religion. It's like I used to genuinely want, and I still basically want, to respect other people's right to believe what they want to believe. But so much horrible behavior is justified with religion, and it's the same fucking thing with culture, and people don't talk about it. People don't talk about it with culture. You got to respect people's culture. But it's like there's stuff like FGM and second class citizenship.
Yeah.
Or generation, like homophobia that's passed around from generation to generation, and it's not one religion. Tell me a religion that isn't blatantly homophobic.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but none of that is covered. None of that is justified with culture or religion.
Exactly.
And it's all a big excuse to do atrocious things. And I'm sorry, I'm not in it anymore. I can't just say, I respect your right to believe what you want to believe or practice whatever cultural practice. Amoral behavior is not protected under these things to me.
My whole thing is physical violence. Like, the second you start putting hands on people, you don't have the right to tell anybody anything.
Well, but there are other things, there's a lot of social indoctrination. There's a lot of the sexism and racism all inherent in culture and some religion, so it there's definitely non-physical atrocities being
Yeah.
supported all the time.
Well, and unfortunately, I think one thing that any organized religion winds up teaching children to be prejudiced, if nothing else, to separate, into their religious group and everyone else.
I still remember the day I was told that everyone who is not Catholic is going to hell. I remember thinking, like, man, heaven is going to be boring. Because
Yeah.
Catholics are snoozers.
Yeah, and funny how Mormons think heaven is only going to be full of Mormons, and
Exactly.
Jehovah's Witnesses think it's only going to be full of Jehovah's Witnesses.
But I remember thinking,
Yeah.
like there's even at like 8 or 9, I knew that. And what about people that are off sects of Catholics? Like, what about Presbyterians, or they're going to hell because of a disagreement of doctrine? Like, that seems pretty
Yeah.
petty.
Well, it was weird for me growing up because, of course, in the U.S., everything is majority Christian. So, the TV and all of the main stuff is all pushing the Christian messages and, everything that the Christians are in charge of everything. But I was living in a community that was 85% Jewish. So being Catholic, we were a very small minority. So it was like knowing that we're the majority of the country, but locally there aren't many of us.
Do you know? I want to look those numbers up of how many are Catholics still a majority? Because when I was a kid, they were. But I know
Catholics alone, no. Christians are only a majority if they include the Catholics.
exactly.
And that's the only time they want to include the Catholics. Most of them want to say Catholics aren't Christian. But if you say Catholics aren't Christian, then Christians are no longer a majority in the U.S.
There's more people at a stadium in Texas than Christians at that point. No, I agree with you. That's why it makes me laugh.
Also, that the Catholic Church basically will count just about everyone they can. That I'm still counted as being a member of the Catholic Church where I grew up.
Does that
And
mean
apparently
I am?
they've changed the rules, so it's virtually impossible to get rid of that. That I had only learned a couple of years ago that there had been a thing that I would have had to submit forms to the Archdiocese of Chicago to get my name removed from the roster.
Yeah, I think
But
that's
apparently they're not even doing that anymore.
I think that's what Beelzebub had to do.
Yeah, he was one
about a year and a half ago.
Yep, he was one of the people who made me aware of it.
Yep, they make you go through a process.
Well, and apparently now they're just not bothering to do that anymore. They just won't file the paperwork.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Yep, and they get to count you on some demographic, so that's pretty sick.
Oh, right.
And there's probably no way the government could make any kind of law to change that either, or would waste the time on it.
All right. You ready? You ready? Are you ready for this? Oh, look at that. This is sewing naked sewing machines. This thing is such a clacker that I'm taking it apart.
Okay, now you said this was a reproduction?
Okay, so this is a star sewing machine. It comes from Japan. Most of them will say made in Japan, or they have JA at the bottom of the plate. And after World War II, American companies went in and took advantage of the fact that Japanese labor at the time was much cheaper than American labor. And so they started making replicas of Singer and every popular household item you could possibly think of, to the point which these are in my video, so I know all these facts. There were 15 companies that made over 50,000. I'm sorry, that had over 50,000 different brand names, and that includes Suzuki, Toyota. They basically all trace back to the same companies, but they bootlegged everything.
Okay.
This is an exact replica of my 1939 Singer, to the point every part is the exact same. And the funny thing is, when these are running in full condition, they're better built than the Singers. So I'm excited to take this apart.
I've heard that about modern day sunglasses, like when you go into those shops, and there's all the special designer sunglasses that are all like $200 a piece or more. And you got your different brands, your Ray-Bans and I don't know all the other brand names. All those different brand names are all the same company, like virtually all the
well,
sunglasses.
if you like them so much, maybe you should move there.
I should.
Have you ever heard of Honeywell?
Sure.
They make they make a lot of stuff, but they make the covers for heaters and air conditioners, which are the same thing in my house. In America, any cover that you buy, even if it doesn't say Honeywell on it, it comes from Honeywell. Any that they're all universal. To the point where my key works on all the new air conditioners.
Will?
Yeah.
Honeywell is up here in Minneapolis too. Like, I think it's their home turf. Honeywell makes all kinds of very nasty weaponry for the military.
Oh, that's disappointing.
The things like you're talking about are kind of like a side business.
Yeah, Honeywell's international headquarters is Minneapolis.
They make all of their air conditioner facing their covers. Everything is keyed to the same key. So I always look James Bond when they're like, "Oh, I can't figure this out." I'm like, "I can. I have the key."
Well, that's their public face. That's how they look good to most people, so that people will turn away when the issues of military contracts come up.
When I was early high school, 1970, I bought my first 35 millimeter single lens reflex camera, and it was a Honeywell Pentax, which was actually built by the Asahi Optical Company of Japan, but they just stuck their name on it.
Exactly. Yep. That's basically what this star is. This could be Toyota. This could be all different kinds of.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's really pretty.
I love these old machines. I love them.
Will, what you were saying about the knockoffs that they were building. You had mentioned Harbor Freight earlier, and most of the tools you will buy at Harbor Freight are Chinese knockoffs of American-made tools.
It's really funny.
And I mean, right to the point that some of the power tools, it really, you can see that they took the old tool apart to make molds, because it'll go right down to the point where there's going to be a little rectangle that's indented into the case. So you can see there's supposed to be a sticker there, but there's no name on it. That's where it said Milwaukee.
I'm from a major city. I have no problem with bootleg anything. I grew up around indoor swap meets. Like, if it works, it works.
Yeah, well, basically, if you buy stuff at Harbor Freight, it's going to be identical to the American tools, except that the gears will be nylon instead of steel. So if you put anything that takes much torque on the motor, you're going to strip the gears out.
Never buy a Harbor Freight tool that has to do with precision.
Yeah, that too. The fit of the parts tends to be a little sloppy.
Their meters are laughable.
But I buy Harbor Freight. I have Harbor Freight sockets. Their wrenches are okay. Their ratchet handles are okay as long as you're getting the heavy steel ones, not the plastic carbonate ones. Their hammers are fine. Their pliers are fine. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Harbor Freight hand tools, they're a Pittsburgh brand. they also have the lifetime warranty.
Pittsburgh's
That if you break
awesome.
one, you can bring it in there and they'll give you a replacement.
I have a ton of Pittsburgh tools. Pittsburgh, like I said, I'm not a snob like that. Like if it works, it works. I do not.
Yeah. For
judge
the
at
average
all.
home handyman, they're fine. Actually, I'm surprised, Jyuni, that you liked them, because I would have thought, serious mechanic and using them every day, I wouldn't think they would hold up to that.
Well, I had a challenge when I used to write my column for my magazine. The magazine, I did a section on tools, and I was talking about this tool and that tool and this brand and that brand, and I was pretty much taking apart my own toolbox and talking about the different tools that I had, and I mentioned that I had some Craftsman this and that. And I got all kinds of nasty fucking letters from readers. Like, how can you buy that crap when you can get Snap-on and Mac, and what are you nuts and you're stupid? I wouldn't trust you for my car. Blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, here's the challenge. I'm going to restore this car over here. I'm going to use nothing but Craftsman tools.
Hell yeah.
And of course they work just fine. So I did the work just fine, but it had to shut them all down. It's like, you don't say this crap. It's bullshit. They're perfectly acceptable tools.
Man, I had no idea Honeywell was the devil. I have their key. That's all. I just have a key that
I
opens
remember
up
Honeywell having a TV, some kind of a kids quiz show, but I don't really remember anything specific about it.
Really? I'd never heard that. Interesting.
I'm not a, even though I was raised super middle class and I'm a very fortunate person, I'm not a snob. Like I'll smoke crappy pot. I'm not a pot snob. I'm not a tool snob. I'm not a car snob. I laugh when I drive my 88 Ford truck around. People kind of look at me and I laugh at them like my truck's paid for and I own a house. These people are driving their brand new trucks and, they can barely afford them. I can afford to put gas in my truck because I own it.
Well,
I
picked up a lot of tools from Harbor Freight over the years, because one of the things was a lot of the stuff, was available as rental tools from various places. But I could go into Harbor Freight and I could buy it for what it would cost me to rent it for 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I was going to use it on more than one job, I might as well just go buy it.
I was once doing this job and I needed an angle grinder, and I could have rented one for $30 a day. But instead I went to Harbor Freight and bought one for $30, period. And it lasted, I used it 8 hours a day for 4 days or 3 days. And on the fourth day, it burned out. But that was done with it by that time. So I saved money.
I had the similar thing with, way back before cordless tools, that I bought a hammer drill at Harbor Freight. Because I needed to drill through a concrete wall for, running this one pipe through. And it's the same thing. By the time I got 3 holes through the concrete, I had stripped out all the gears, but it was still cheaper than renting one at the time.
Damn right. I'll never wag my finger at those tools. Like I said, I'm not a snob. If it works, it works.
And disposable tools have their place. There are jobs where I just know I'm going to ruin the tool before I'm done anyway.
So my local dollar store sells paintbrushes, okay? When I do a major painting job, I'll go buy out the shelf because I know I can throw those brushes away when I'm done. And they don't shed. They're not cheaply made. It's just a paintbrush. And if it does shed,
one store that we don't have around here anymore, mostly I used them in New York, was Ollie's Liquidators. And that was like where I got all of my painting supplies, all the, paint brushes and the sandpaper and prep supplies. Because, I would get things like, a pack of 3 brushes for $2. And it's like, it's not worth the time to clean them.
Yeah, at all. Not at all. I prefer those than the fancy brushes. It makes me think back to like how tedious it was when I was a kid when we used to clean brushes. But I didn't, Pops didn't have the money back then. So
since Ollie's was a liquidator, it's like, I was getting name brand stuff. I was getting like 3M products. at just really cheap prices, like 75% off their normal prices.
Who's watching television, Jenny? Are you watching TV?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I have sentinel hearing, so I'm watching the news with you.
Yeah, no, I was hearing that. I wasn't sure who it was coming from.
Sentinel hearing, huh? There's a reference to a TV show.
I loved that show. I used to watch that. I watched Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas.
Yep.
I would watch Xena, and of course our your friend and mine, our resident psycho. I used to watch Kevin Sorbo on Hercules and Andromeda. Andromeda was awesome. I loved Andromeda.
Andromeda was pretty good. It was a pretty interesting show.
Absolutely amazing show. But now that I look, I can't watch the reruns because Kevin Sorbo is a psycho. I recently because I like tension in my life, I subscribed to him on Twitter, and he's a mess. Kevin Sorbo, what did he say today? He said something. I'm like, oof.
Oh, have you seen pictures of him lately?
He looks. Yes, I have.
He looks like 100 years old.
Because people keep on posting it, and they're like, show your real picture, you scumbag. Stop making fun of Will Smith. He only attacked the Oscars because they model their statues after his wife.
What? Is that a Sorbo quote?
Kevin Sorbo has his head up his ass.
What?
This was 8 hours ago. I saw that. I laughed. I'm like, ooh, Kevin Sorbo, he wants to be relevant again. Do you know, if Will Smith slapped Kevin Sorbo would be in the hospital. Will Smith is big. I've seen him in real life. Like, Will Smith is a big dude. That's why I felt sorry for Chris Rock. Chris Rock is about my size.
Yeah, I didn't see the thing, so I don't even know the joke he made. So that's why I don't really have a big opinion on it.
Yeah, he said G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. It was a knock on Jada Smith's short hair.
Oh.
And I don't know if he knew about her what is that, alopecia or something like that. So she has a medical condition that's causing her baldness.
But I've dated a woman who shaved her head, and she was beautiful.
Oh yeah, I love it when women are completely bald. I think it's extremely sexy.
Absolutely. So I don't think, and it's also a cultural thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's like any other hairstyle. It works on some women, on others, it's just not right.
Well, for me, I really don't give a shit. I do not give a shit about anybody's hairstyle at all. But I do kind of like baldness ever since kind of embracing the baldness myself. So I mean, it is kind of a personal bias, but I do find baldness personally attractive on most everyone. So, but really, I don't give a shit. You can just hack your hair up and just have it. I mean, you could yank it out with your damn hands. I don't care what it looks like. I just don't care.
I've tried that for my beard. It just doesn't work. It keeps coming back anyway. I have completely plucked out my entire beard with tweezers at least half a dozen times, and I still can't kill it.
But one thing I would say about the Chris Rock thing is, personally, I find making fun of anybody's appearance just completely detestable, whether he knew about her condition or not. And there's a good chance he didn't know and might not have said it if he did know. But even so, I don't enjoy jokes that make fun of people's appearance at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of can't support Chris Rock there, but at the same time, nothing he did, was worth any kind of violent act. If Will Smith, wanted to make a big deal about it on the spot, he could have just yelled something from his seat and
I
and
agree.
dealt with it off camera later, you know.
I kind of
Yeah.
agree. I agree with native atheists. Like, it's not like he's making an AIDS joke or a cancer joke. Like, and as someone who lives in LA, it's not rare to see a woman of color with a shaved head at all.
Well,
Yeah.
and
In
native,
any way, shape, or form at all.
It shouldn't be rare
Yeah.
to see that on any woman, and it shouldn't be a big deal. People, you know, people freak out about it so much, and
Except it's what you got to understand is the person who has the alopecia. It is a horrible and traumatic thing for a woman to go through.
yeah.
It's
well,
not okay to assault
and
people, though. I get my feelings hurt all day long. I'm not gonna go around slapping people.
the other point, native atheists made here is also true, though, that, Hollywood is all about appearances. These people, entire life, every day they go out, they're being, scrutinized by the reporters and such about what they wore, how they look every day.
That's like there's a horrible picture of Goldie Hawn and what's his face floating around, and I'm like, people get old. What do you expect? Like people age. We
Yeah.
have unreal expectations of what we're supposed to look like. You can't be beautiful forever. You can't. You're not going to look the same forever. I don't care
Well,
who you are, what you
and
are.
then once you
And
lose
again-
the beauty, you get devalued. So
Yeah,
so that's why
people-
vanity is bad.
Yeah, people and the reporters are really cruel, to stars that, have peaked and are on the downside. That celebrities aren't supposed to age; they're supposed to be immortal.
Oh, it bothers me. I think 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan, I think she is so hot right now. I'm crushing like it's 1996. I think she is so hot. She has aged well. And now that I know she's walking around my town that I live in right now, I'm going to start wearing decent clothes at the grocery store.
My first celebrity crush was watching the BBC show Good Neighbors. I got a huge crush on Felicity Kendall. And yeah, I've looked at pictures on the internet. She's still looking damn good.
Absolutely. 7 of 9 is just smoking hot. Absolutely. But see, I have a problem with sports. In America, I don't know about in other countries, but in America, when you turn 30, you're old. F that. Like, I always root for the old guy. It really pisses me off.
And professional athletes, their average career is less than 5 years.
I know someone that played in the NFL and they played for 3 years, and that was like the average for their era was 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah, well, football especially is hard on the body, more so than baseball or other sports. But
Unless you're
still,
Serena,
any sport.
unless you're Serena Williams, then you're the top level for in your entire adult life. She's just so fucking amazing.
Well, hell yeah, they should have cast her for She-Hulk.
She's a human. She's a sight to see. There's people when you see them and they're walking around and they're naturally just like this. Like, she's jacked.
Oh yeah,
she is jacked. Man, I miss going to the gym. I've turned into Howard Hughes. I will probably never go to the gym again. And I'm still scared to go to a casino. So I watch trash YouTube, okay? There's these 2 YouTubers who go back and forth and they talk trash and they have their little tribes and everything. This one lady bragged about going to a casino with COVID to the one that I go to that's on county line between California and Nevada. And I'm like, oh, because I would go there just to gamble like a degenerate all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm still not doing any group activities, and one of them specifically, one club I used to belong to that I'd love to go back to, but I know that one guy in there was a Bible literalist, so I haven't talked to him in years, but I'll bet you anything he's an anti-mask and anti-vaxxer as well.
That's
he believes that Noah's Ark was a historical event.
You can't have conversations with people like that. That's why it's really strange. Like, so if you go to a gym by my house, no one's wearing a mask. Okay. There's this one thrift store I go to, and it's by a gym. When I walk by the window, it's in a different neighborhood. Every single person's wearing a mask. But because I live in the burbs of land of, oh, you can't tell me what to do, we still have COVID in my town.
Yeah.
Well,
all of our mask mandates ended at the end of last month. So it's like, now we've got signs up that masks are optional, but I'm the only one in our building that ever wears one.
I'm trying to think because
But every day when I go out in the corridor, just going upstairs to Sloth Girls, I'm going to wear a mask while I'm out there. And, I'm a huge believer in them because I went 2 winters in a row without getting strep throat.
Absolutely.
And that may be the first time in my adult life I've ever done that for 2 years in a row. So I'm a big believer in the mask.
Same. I get sick every year, and it's been about 2 years since I've had a big one.
Yeah, well, virtually every year, sometime in November or December, I get strep throat.
Same, I get sick every year. Yikes!
I'm a believer in the mask too, but I still hate it, and I'm still very eager to not have to wear it. That being said, I'm about the only one that does. Very few people wear it around here.
And I went on a streak of not having a headache for 42 years until COVID. How's that?
Yeah.
Looks like you just slammed a full house on the table there, Jenny.
And I still get them here and there, and that was back in November. I had COVID.
Yeah, 42 years. I can't, imagine going that long.
I get a headache every time the weather changes. That's quite honestly like how I know the weather changes. My nose gets stuffy, and I start getting a headache.
Same with me. I get my sinuses back up, and I get all the pressure over my eyebrows.
Oh yeah. Well, it doesn't matter if it get cold or hot. Like, that's my rheumatism. I get sick every time the weather changes.
Yeah, Mark, to be honest, that's where I dropped quiet too. So.
Hey, Mark, I'll have you know that I did my streaking in college when it was brand new, and it was perfectly fun, and I didn't get any negative comments. So, bite me.
Jenny.
Oh no, I'm sure it was.
Hold on.
I was never brave enough to do it in public.
Oh, let me get my hungry eye. Hold on. Hey, Jenny, if you want to go streaking, you come on down to LA. I'll go streaking with you.
Oh no, I'm done with that. That was mid to late 70s. No more.
I'll take you to West Hollywood. I'll get 10,000 people that want to streak with you. I'll take you to one of the gayest places on earth.
I've never done it in public, and for me, a big part of that is that public exhibition has a consent problem. You may be involving people who didn't consent to it.
Oh
God.
So
I think
it's not like I'm sorry, Jenny. What?
I think streaking was one of the best things that ever happened to this culture. I think it needed a good kick in the face and just an opportunity to say, well, that's just absolutely insane, and laugh your ass off. Because that's all it was having fun.
For a society thing, I think it would be good. Our society needs to get over this whole inhibition about nudity and bodies.
Agreed.
They agreed. I was going to say something, but agreed. But that's the problem. We're actually becoming more prude, though. See, that's what pisses me off about today's, at least in America. We're going backwards. We are literally going backwards. And I don't know where you're from, but we're the ones that, like, where I'm from, we have say. That's why I am so glad Posey Parker did not go to any major events in Los Angeles or San Francisco, because she would have been met with a mob of people that were ready to fight her. Because that, like, all that TERF stuff, it just doesn't go on around here at all.
Well, I wish she would have gone there and done that.
No, she's smart, because that's why when I was watching her channel and she's like, I'm coming to America, like I got on the gay network, I sound the horn, you know what, I lit the beacon like they did in Lord of the Rings. I lit the gay beacon, like, do you know this bitch is coming here? And people were waiting for her, but she didn't step foot in California.
Coward.
She may have, or because there were a bunch of TERFs that actually either went and saw her or she went to their house. But there's one who I know that lives in California, but I don't know, because they know that like we have numbers here. And there's this other TERF that there's these two women, they go around to Planned Parenthood pretending that they want to get hormones to see if they'll give hormones to a almost 65, almost 70-year-old woman. And in California, if you say, hey, I need this, they'll give it to you. No questions asked. Where I live,
Okay,
people...
Well, there's people in their
what's the
60s
big
and
deal with-
70s that
yeah.
are just beginning transition now.
It's
I was
called
gonna
Gender
say-
Mapper. She's mapping out all the gender clinics in America. It's a woman from Israel and a woman from Northern California.
Yeah. What's
And
the
they're
big
just-
deal about giving hormones to someone in their 60s? I mean,
They're-
I'm only a few years shy of that.
But the TERFs want to control language. They want to control the narrative. So they go to Planned Parenthood, they lie, they make themselves a victim and say, oh, look, they're giving you can give puberty blockers to a kid, you can give one to an adult. Oh, the world's going crazy. When the truth is, they're not minding their own fucking business.
Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me.
It's called Gender Mapper.
Yeah,
It's
well-
on YouTube.
You know, all the homophobic and transphobic people, it's like you're going to war against a group of people who, if you just ignored them, would have no influence on your life whatsoever.
That's my whole thing about even fighting online. Like, man, if you have a problem, you could easily just turn the stream off and go somewhere else. Like I do. If I don't like someone, I just don't participate. So I do not understand people who go running towards others saying you're not. I just don't get the gender critical stance anymore, because they are no longer defensive. They're offensive. They're going places. They're yelling at children. They're yelling. You know, we send our children to college. We send our kids certain places. I would be pissed if my kid was at a swim meet and Posey Parker was there trying to make it political. Like, go home. I'd get real ugly American real quick.
You know, as far as that mapping of clinics and stuff, all they have to do, and well, actually what they did, because she could tell when it was downloaded, a woman, a trans woman named Erin, who you can find on Twitter, put together a database of every single clinic in North America that provided what's the formal word to use, self ID, transgender treatment. And it is up there, and it's accessible to everybody. There's a live action map, and all they did was download that and say, look what we're doing.
And see, that's part of the problem. These people, they call it what do they call? They call it everyday feminism. Okay, so what they're doing is they're going to these clinics and taking resources away from people who actually need them. If you really think about it, they're just they're trying to throw cogs in the wheel, and saying, oh, look how horrible this is. But like I said, if I don't like something, I don't go after it. Like, the world is huge. The world is a big place. There is enough space on the internet for all of us. There's enough space on this earth for all of us. Stop obsessing over people you don't like. I prefer to obsess over sewing machines.
It'd be interesting to see what
Well,
people
you're
can
just
accomplish when they divert all that energy towards positive things, towards enjoying the positive traits of other people, instead of obsessing about things you don't like about them.
The problem is it's all based on hatred
and control.
And fear.
Well, and yeah, most of it is based in religion because, at least most of the Christian religions feel that they need to control everyone.
Yeah, but like if the problem with the gender critical movement is that it's like a three-headed snake. I always jokingly say it started off with bathrooms and it slowly started leaking towards pride. And oh, you're erasing lesbians. Oh, now they're policing gay men. What they're doing is divide and conquer, and then they're going to try to get rid of everybody at the same time anyways.
Yep.
It's classic. That's like, even with the quote unquote what's it called? Oh, damn it. Not gender war, culture wars. It's bullshit. It's busy work. It's literally a distraction to have people hate each other because there's other things going on, because if people got together, they would see the country's broke.
Yeah, well, that's why the Republican Party pushes these kind of things. That's why the Republican Party pushes, like this war on this imaginary gay agenda.
Yeah.
Because as long as they can keep people focusing on that, people aren't noticing, all the billions of dollars that they're giving to corporations.
Your coffers, no matter if you can hear my voice and you live in America, your coffers are ransacked. Our states we're not like third world country, but we're living off of loans. Like, man, if Americans got together and realized that we're all like, subject to the government at this point, we could actually do something about it. That's why I consider all the culture wars bullshit. Like, live your life. Live your life.
Well, and if everyone actually voted based on their own economic situation, and what was actually going to improve their own life, none of the Republicans could ever get elected again.
Ever. And you keep people pissed off, you keep them angry, they're too blind to see what's really going on.
They've managed to get these people who are, working class and like people who are really struggling, who, are living below the poverty line. The Republicans keep getting them to vote for them by bringing up religious issues and by this, you've got to worry about this minority group is going to take over.
Kentucky, poorest state in the union, they cannot stop voting for the turtle, McConnell.
Yeah. Well, if you look at that, all the Republican states, are the most deeply Republican states are the poorest states who have the least services available for the average citizen.
I don't get it. I don't, and they're, I've been saying this as long as I've been online. I do not understand people who vote against their own interest. Like, I'm not joking. Yeah. I look up judges. I look up their track record in my town.
Well, the reason that occurs is because what you and I perceive as their own best interest, we are correct. That if they're getting screwed by the government financially, that's against their best interest. If they're getting screwed by their local government financially, that's against their best interest. But to them, their best interest is God, guns, and gays.
Yep.
And that's what they vote. That's what they're voting on.
I just don't get.
Let's fight against socialism, and that's why they vote against having any kind of a national health plan.
They don't even know what socialism, communism, any of it is. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
My neighbors say that all the time. They're like, "This is communism," and I ask the question, "What is communism?" I ask them, doty-eyed, like, what does that mean to you? What does that mean?
Yeah, but these people are voting against their own families having health care just because it was labeled socialist.
Well, these are the people who stand there and say, we hate socialism, keep the government's hands off my Medicare.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Those people kill me. I agree. I don't get those people either. But see, that's the thing that drives me crazy. It's like, how can you not see that like the us and them is getting more like this? Like, even people that have money are not part of the them. You know,
Robert Reich has this great video. I wish everybody on the planet would watch. It's about billionaires, and a new term that he's coined is called centibillionaires. And centibillionaires. Well, first of all, he went through the history of millionaires, and the millionaires, they existed, first started showing up in the early part of the century and stuff like that, and they grew in number, and you could still count them to be in the hundreds in America and that kind of stuff. He says, but today there's thousands of millionaires, but now we have hundreds of billionaires. Okay, and some who have so much we call them centibillionaires, that they have like 100 billion or more, something like that. And he says, do you know how much money that is? And he went through this little, if you were somebody with this much money, you could buy this, and it would, you could buy a corporate jet if you're a millionaire. But if you're a billionaire, you could buy one for every day of the year. If you were a millionaire, you could help people with their medical bills. If you were a billionaire, you could pay off every penny of medical debt in the country. Okay.
And that's the thing. At that point, it's just a matter of, it's a point system for them to see who's winning.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what America needs to get a handle on. Is just how rich is a guy like Elon Musk. If you got $150 billion in your pocket, how much money is that really? And it's more money than anyone can fucking imagine
in their life.
Yeah, and having more money than your entire family could ever spend in their lives.
More money than the whole world has. The rich of America own most of the world.
Yeah, single people who have more money than most any country in the world.
Yes.
Wow.
The top 1% have the same amount of money as the bottom poorest portion of the species.
Wow.
The other 99%.
That's why Will Smith can suck it. Get off my planet. Get off my planet.
It's hard to have sympathy for people who have so much.
I have no sympathy for people like that. See, but the whole Ebenezer Scrooge thing happened to me because I came from the suburbs and I was homeless off and on throughout my entire 20s. So it taught me humility. It taught me the value of $1 from the ground floor up, because poverty is a good teacher.
Well, I grew up poor. I've struggled all my life. I think that there was really only like 1 year in my life that I actually made enough to be considered above the poverty line.
As times have changed.
Well, you just have to learn to pull yourself up by your bootstraps there, Purple.
Yeah, what if you can't afford boots?
Well, that's no excuse.
You should at least be able to afford the straps.
Straps are expensive. You'd be surprised.
And completely useless without the boot.
Okay, Will, that was really weird to go from the ripped abs to the fat guy at the bar.
Are you trying to tell me something?
No, it's Walter from The Big Lebowski. I love this scene. I'm just gonna sit there. I'm just gonna sit here and drink my coffee. That's my life. That is me every day. I'm just gonna sit here and drink my coffee.
But I look like I swallowed John Goodman. All right.
He's lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah, he has a ton.
Yeah. No, every time I see that my abs picture, it reminds me, the one thing about having the movie star body is that you have to work out every day. You have to maintain it. And the second I hit my 40s, I was like, F that.
Wait a minute, Will, those were your abs?
Don't make me. That's me. That's me.
I didn't see. I just saw it.
Okay, hold on. I'll go back.
My pictures here are very tiny.
That's
Oh
my
my God.
that's me in my backyard a year and a half ago.
Holy cow.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you didn't know that was a selfie.
in my you can in my but in my 40s, like I get down on the ground and I just want to take a nap. I don't want to do push-ups anymore. Or COVID is
Well,
what COVID changed my life. I had very rigid habits, and then COVID hit and I couldn't go to the gym anymore. I couldn't go to Vegas anymore, and I had to learn to live with myself. And I'm okay with who I am.
well, I had the COVID over Christmas, and I'm still suffering some of the long COVID. That I used to be out there. I used to do houses. I would spend all summer out there, building fences and decks and, carrying 50 pounds of equipment and supplies all the time. And now I get fatigued just walking up one flight of stairs.
That's another thing. Because I smoke so long, I'm the same way without COVID. Because I'm an idiot and I've had I'm a born asthmatic and smoked forever. So I just don't have it in me anymore to do the movie star workouts, the burnouts. And I think it's, when I see like gym selfies and people have the perfect ass, after a while, I'm like, what's the point? I've reached the age of like, I'm over having the perfect ass, having
I
the
think
best
that Mark
legs.
Caesar has at least accidentally hit on the answer. That you go from having a six-pack to having a keg.
And I still work out. I do hockey workouts. I have skates
Yeah.
and a stick, but like
Yeah, I was double vaxxed when I got the COVID. I actually was scheduled to have the booster about 4 days after I got the positive test result. Sloth Girl had the booster already, which I think is why she got over it in a week, and it hung on for me for a month.
And now I'm supposed to go in for my next booster.
Yeah, they're up to advising a fourth shot now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so ever since I don't know, the whole COVID era has changed everything in my life. So
Well, for me, it's kind of weird because it's like literally what we managed to move, and 2 weeks after we got here, started the first COVID lockdown. So I can't even sort out how much of this shit is from COVID and how much of this shit is because I just moved and never got to know the new city yet.
yeah. I miss a lot of my old routines, and I kind of don't. I like all my new routines.
I had these wonderful dreams of, starting out fresh. I had a new place. I had this empty apartment that I could, build storage for and everything. And I was finally going to get my life organized. And yeah, right. It just proved to me that I just don't know how to organize.
Oh gosh, I feel like that sometimes about my middle bedroom that I turned into my closet / room of shame, because it's just turned into a whole room of hoarding.
Yeah, but see, you've got the room to do it. For me, I've got, piles of projects around my living room. So I can't even, have people over.
I learned from my dad to be a hoarder and a hider. So I've reduced a lot of my hoarding to this room and the middle bedroom.
Yeah,
because
but see,
my son has the right to grow up like in a functioning house, because I did, and my dad was a smoker and a hoarder, and he smoked outside and kept his hoarding out of his house.
yeah, but see, again, it's like it's easier when you have space. You have extra rooms.
Yeah.
My total living space is 2 rooms.
My living space is 1 room.
I'm in this weird phase of my life right now where I'm downsizing. I'm having a reverse midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Instead of
Well,
buying
like I
stuff, I'm
said,
getting rid of it.
I also need to get rid of the storage locker that's costing me money every month. So I need to sell off a bunch of stuff to get rid of that. And And it is hard getting rid of the tools that I used to make my living for 40 years.
Jenny, I love that picture. Mark Caesar, you're right. The more space I have, the more crap I collect. It's so true. That's a good picture.
Thanks.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one before.
Well, that was pre-wrinkles.
And hey, Robert X came in.
Hey, Robert X.
Yeah, Robert, that was also part of the thing moving into a new place, that I had decided I was going to be better on the routine cleaning and, keep up on the little bit of cleaning every week so things didn't get out of hand. Like, yeah, that didn't last very long either. It's hard for me just to push it to vacuum once a week.
That's kind of been like that's why I called my middle bedroom the room of shame, because I had an extremely organized walk-in closet, and then I started throwing sewing machine cases in there. I threw my cart in there, and it's turned right back into a hoarding room. Hi, Stool.
Oh, hey, Stool.
Stoolie.
Well,
rooms are
Stool,
over.
not all of us have a bad alley either.
I used to have the biggest bedroom on the planet. I was homeless.
I agree with Mark Short. I don't have a hoarding problem. I just need to build more sheds. That reminds me,
Yeah.
I have a stand-up freezer in here that I unplugged because it was such a pull of power. And it's just Isaiah in here. And I don't go hunting. so I unplugged it. But I kind of want to build a shed and just put it on the side of my house.
And then you have people like my brother and sister-in-law, two people in a 4,000 square foot home, and they have 2 refrigerators and 2 freezers.
Yeah.
See, that's my thing.
I would take the route with the sheds if I had a yard to build one in. I have no problem with building a couple of big storage sheds.
I have 2 freezers, and that was the problem. The only thing it really did was stop my my mozzarella stick addiction, because I would buy the big box. But now I don't have space for the big box. But I really didn't have much in there after a while, especially after my father passed away, because he was weird and he would come to my house and be like, here's 40 pounds of beef ribs. He was crazy. So, no one shows up at my house anymore with random, or he would come to my house like, oh, here's 50 pounds of tuna for no reason.
Yeah. Well, besides our,
the
normal refrigerators, Sloth Girl and I do have one small freezer. It's like about half the size of a standard refrigerator. That's where we keep our stock together. But that's useful just for stocking up when things are on sale. But then again, Will, I expect that your electrical rates where you live are probably 3 to 4 times what we pay here.
Oh, they're outrageous. They're so high that they've turned me into my mom, where I'm like, turn that light off.
Yeah. Apart from in the summer when I've had to run the air conditioner, my electric bill's never been over $30.
Ooh, my studio light is going out. I can see it. This year I had one light bill. Oh, I call it my light bill, but my power bill. One was $500, and one was like $475.
In the summer?
Yeah, and I had one recently that was $3 something. But I pull a gang of power, and they're taxing the holy F out of us. And you know what? Even with our water, if you saw what they again, because water is so scarce out here, if you have a nice lawn, they're going to take a picture and be like, why is your grass green? Why are you So it's unreal. I don't know how people can afford to own a home if you don't have a really good job. At least, in Southern California, the prices are unreal. I said this the other day. Our tickets, like let's say you get pulled over for speeding, they start at $1,700. Jenny,
No way.
could you afford a ticket that's $1,700?
No.
Our cops talk about it. Our cops were like, "Do you know we're ruining people's lives?"
Yeah, I was gonna say, a $1,000 ticket would basically bankrupt me.
And because I have my cop neighbor friend, and he tells me all the time, like it ruins people's lives. He's like, I don't know how people drive out here.
That's like after rent, that is like 4 months of my income.
That's they start at 1,700. I got a ticket, and because I may or may not have said something to the cop and told him where to go, he added something on the ticket, and I had a ticket that was 2,400, and I was speeding, and I was mouthy to the cop. I may or may not have said something about his mom. But
that's your problem. I have gotten out of most of the tickets that I deserved because when the cop comes up, if you just keep it calm and you're polite and you acknowledge that he's got a difficult job, most of the time they'll just send you home with a warning. That's I have deserved far more tickets than I've gotten.
Okay, so I actually have that attitude because I'm actually I don't care because I'm gonna pay the ticket and move on with my life. But this particular cop, the best ever though. There was one time I got pulled over in the shop truck, and this cop was like, "Oh man, your boss is gonna be so pissed." Like he was kind of laughing at me. He's like, "What are you gonna do when you're fired?" I looked at him and I said, "First off, I'm my own boss, and second off, I've already forgiven myself." And then I drove off. And if he didn't say F you, then I have bad hearing. And I don't have bad hearing. But I'm, where I live is a giant speed trap. And people always talk about race, and the sheriffs are a-holes. They got caught ticketing more people of color. But when I drive like a crazy person. Like when I get pulled over, it's for a reason. It's because I speed. I've had to learn how to slow down.
Yeah.
I'm from LA, and they lower the speed limit because people are dying here. And so, people like me are going to have to learn how to drive all over again. So when I get pulled over, I know it's because I'm driving like a pushy idiot.
It's one of the things I liked about moving to Minnesota is the speed limits are higher here than in Wisconsin. In your typical small town in Wisconsin, you go through and the speed limit will be 25 miles an hour.
Oh,
here it's 30 to 35.
In
Wisconsin, on the state highway, the 2-lane state highway with shoulders, it'll be 50, 55. And here in Minnesota, it's 65, 70.
Yep.
So it's like they trust their citizens more.
Well, also to be fair, Minnesota maintains the roads better.
That's for damn sure.
Is it
those 2-lane highways in Wisconsin? Yeah, a lot of times those are full of potholes that'll break your steering.
Oh gosh, that's like the difference between California and Arizona. Arizona never stops working on their roads. Their roads are immaculate. The second you get into the state of California, you're like, who the hell lives here? There's potholes. The freeways are trashed. But the state of Arizona takes very good care of their roads.
Yeah, Jenny, you're getting more compliments on your picture.
Yes, that's me.
You do look very cute there.
That's a great picture. Just like my ab picture. That's a great picture.
Well, even a broken clock is good twice a day.
I love that saying. I say that all the time.
Now, see, that's not necessarily true. A broken clock could be a clock that only has one hand.
Okay, so we all know who said this, but it's true. If you're on the internet, somebody is wanking to you. If you're on the internet, somebody right now is crushing on you, and you just don't know it. If you're on the internet,
So somebody with a peculiar predilection toward glowing red eyes is jerking off to me right now.
oh, and yes, quite a few people, a few.
Well, I don't know about, people jerking off, but yeah, I did find out through a friend at one point that there was somebody who was crushing on me, and turned out she is less than half my age. So, I mean, that it's rather flattering. That's rather an ego boost.
Does
But,
she know that you're a triceratops?
well, apparently it was mostly my voice, but she'd seen the couple of times that I'd actually been on camera.
Robert X wants to know why the secret's out. But it's true. Like, I have 3 or 4 crushes right now.
There are a couple. And again, like I was saying earlier, I don't pay as much attention to faces as voices. So there are a couple of people who I kind of crush on because I wish I could just pay them to read books to me, to read me to sleep.
There's a couple YouTubers that I don't want to tell them that, like, I watch their stuff to fall asleep. There's a couple, but it's rude. Like, that, to me, that's rude. So I don't want to tell them, like, hey, your stuff's awesome because I'm out in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't have any that effective, but yeah, I tend to leave playlists running when I go to bed because I sleep an hour and then I'm awake for an hour laying there. So it's nice to have something to listen to in between.
I tried sleeping to one of my playlists on my iPod, and I could not sleep because it was all this really good music, all good old Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. And
I have to be very selective about which channels, because there's a lot of channels I'd like to include in that playlist, but a lot of people like blast their intros at 3 times the volume of their talking. So then I can't have that when I'm trying to rest.
I've just learned that skill. Sorry, Jenny.
The other thing I noticed about YouTube intros that makes me absolutely fucking crazy is they're like these 5-minute productions, and they're shitty. It's like, why are you showing me this for this long? I've tuned out your show twice now.
That's why I do. That's why I do my so-called life. 10 seconds. Done.
Yeah, I think TERFs is excellent. It's one sentence.
Greetings, sentient beings.
Well, actually, the introduction for my when I've done edited videos is a bit longer, but
Ox has breaking news.
Oh, let's see here.
News on the slap. The Academy gave Will Smith 15 days to respond to the allegation of assault, after which the Academy will impose sanctions and fines on Will Smith. It's not over.
Oh, whoops.
I wonder what kind of sanctions they would.
They're probably, well, they should never put him in the front row again. just a I'm in the peanut gallery, but just an effing suggestion. Don't put the crazy guy. You don't see Kanye West in the front row.
Yeah,
it's a good reason.
Okay, well, Mark Caesar's got a good point here. You do shout outs to your sponsors, but that is important. At the end of every show, I do shout outs to the people that subscribe to me on Patreon. So,
well, I ramble, so I want to show people what I'm talking about, because I know myself, because I'm really excited about what I'm doing, and not everybody is necessarily into sewing machines like I am. So I'm like, okay, and especially because there's people who are subscribed to my channel that are like that all they do is take apart sewing machines and put them back together. So I show them like, hey, this is actually about something. So we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
So eventually we will get to a point.
Well, and I do like that is people who just give you like a quick 1 minute summary at the beginning. One of the things that really pisses me off, and I see this especially on like craft videos and like a lot of the woodworking videos, that they don't even tell you what the project is when they start.
Yes.
You're expected to sit there and watch an hour video not even knowing what the fuck it is they're making.
That's why I like watching people who don't speak English, because they tell you in the title, I'm making a coat. Or
Yep.
there's a guy I watched where all he does is refurbish sewing machines. But like I said, I don't think he speaks English. And so in the title, he tells you what it is and what he's doing. Then step by step, he shows you what he's doing. Like, I love that.
Yeah, a couple of the woodworking channels I follow are people who don't speak English, so they've taken to making sure everything is very visual, that they don't need to speak at all, and making sure they show you every step.
Thank you, Native Eighth. Sewing machine. I'm a geek. I'm a total geek, but sewing machines are awesome. They could take his Oscar away. You know what? I loved Will Smith. Like I said, Will Smith and I broke up a year ago. So I have emotional
Okay.
everything that's going to come out of my mouth is emotional about Will Smith.
Well, I can see them, like basically preventing him from any future awards. Can they actually take back one they've already issued?
Sure, if they're a private organization, they can do anything they want with their own things and system.
Yeah, especially in LA with the land of lawyers, they'll find a clause or something.
And even if he wouldn't give it back, they could say, "Okay, fine, we're canceling it, and we're going to give one to the person who came in second."
Yeah.
And we're just going to take you out of the history books.
Absolutely.
I think they're going to suspend his membership for a year. Is what I'm going to guess that they're going to do, and probably a fine, a financial fine of some sort.
Well, and now from Doc telling me what the joke was and all, it's like it wasn't really directed at his wife either, was it? It was a more general thing.
No,
it was.
Yeah, but again, assaulting people is not okay. And Will Smith,
Yeah.
If you saw his reaction when he won and he was crying, like that is not the signs of a well person. He's not okay. Like, if anything, they should get his ass some help. That he's not okay. Like, that's not the actions. I don't even know what a normal person is anymore, but there are certain ways that we act in public, or we wouldn't have a society.
It's one of the things I wonder about with celebrities. Is how much stress is there of just having to always have on that public persona, and knowing that anytime you're outside of your house, someone has a camera pointed at you.
I couldn't handle it.
Whenever I would go to the grocery store with my dad, he would always look at the Inquirer and all that stuff and be like, man, it feels good to be a middle-class nobody.
Yeah.
He would, I miss that line. He would always say that because they do stalk you. Look,
well, and that's I've always said that I wouldn't want to be famous. I mean, it would be nice, like, if something I wrote became famous and people didn't know what I look like.
I wouldn't want paparazzi running up on my child, especially that because my child has ASD. Like that, I would go full Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, it's especially difficult when you've got family to protect.
Oh yeah, so I agree, but also in the same sense, like I said earlier, there's just a certain code of conduct that people have, and you don't act like that. Like, I'm part of an ownership group at my job. If I acted like that, I would get fired. They'd tell me to get off of my own property. There's laws against acting like that. Like, you just can't do that. And how old is
Oh,
Chris
wow.
Rock?
What Ox posted here. Funny thing is, somebody dug up a 92 anti-violence video done by Will Smith, where he says a person that uses their head to fight will always win.
So next time he's gonna
Irony.
headbutt someone next time. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, and that makes you wonder, what is really him and how much of the stuff he does is scripted.
I want to see Chris Rock stand up and say, the joke I told was in bad taste. However, I did not know she had an alopecia problem. Or
Well, yeah,
something along those lines, that if you realize that she had a problem, that and telling that joke is just terribly bad taste.
Jenny,
I think it
But
would
he
be
didn't know, he
ideal.
didn't know.
Yeah,
Have
it
you-
would
have
be
you ever-
ideal to get them both on a show together.
Have
That
you-
Chris Rock could say, "Yeah, the joke was in bad taste. I probably shouldn't have said that."
have you
And
ever
just have them kind of apologize together and shake hands.
have you guys ever
Yeah.
heard of like Def Comedy Jam?
Yep.
Night at the Apollo. It is in
Oh, yeah.
black culture to rip each other apart to shreds. Will Smith knows this more than anyone else. Chris Rock has told some jokes that I've been like, oh wow, So it bothers me that Will Smith got away with this. I'm sorry, I've heard worse jokes about his wife. People have made songs about his wife. How come he's not running up?
Well, yeah.
I love that meme when they have The Rock doing that instead of Chris Rock, it's The Rock. Will Smith would not run up on a man that was bigger than him.
I saw an edit where it was Tobey Maguire going up and slapping Chris Rock, and they used the third Spider-Man movie. So he's slapping him and then doing the dance and all that stuff. It was actually pretty funny.
I would never swing on someone smaller than me, smaller framed. There's certain rules to it, I'm not gonna go running up on somebody for no reason.
I have a very simple rule. The first shot is free. The second one's going to cost you.
I'm jumpy.
I can actually walk away from somebody who takes one swing at me. If they come after me after I turn to walk away, then I'm going to have at them.
I'd probably give them a few more shots.
Well, and okay, I'm not saying I know how to fight or anything like that, but apparently something I got from my ancestors is the berserker rage. So I can go at it for a couple of minutes that I'm not feeling any pain. And if you're not worried about getting hurt, you can do a fucking lot of damage to someone in that couple of minutes.
To quote James Brown, I don't know karate, but I know crazy. Run up on me and find out. Run up on Godless Owen and find out. Run up. That's the greatest line of all time. Run up and find out.
I have this fantasy. I'd kind of like to try it in an altercation sometime, but I don't know how well I'd actually fare. But I just have this fantasy of like, if somebody's attacking me, I just slowly keep walking toward them, take every shot. No, don't even attack. I just give them a haunting glare and slowly approach. It's the Michael Myers approach,
There's a Babylon 5
and
like
see
that.
and see how well it works. If a person sees that they're hitting me and just can't seem to stop me, that might just stop the altercation without me having to lift a finger,
Quite honestly, that probably would stop a fight. And in Babylon 5, I think the last season, or whichever one they had, the psychic, the psychics that were hiding underneath in Babylon 5, There's an episode where this guy just starts getting slapped, and he's like, "Do you feel any better?"
Yeah.
He looks
Like,
at the guy. He's like, "Did that work? Like, do you feel any better? How are you doing?" You know.
I've actually had that many years ago. I had a guy who had his hand around my throat. He had me pinned against the wall, and I was still trying to reason it through with him about we really don't need to be fighting. You know, and it's kind of like the fact that I didn't get upset about it was so discombobulating to him that he just kind of walked away confused.
I don't fight.
yeah, me
I
neither.
try not to.
I've been in a couple of altercations in my life, but I am not a fighter, and I avoid fighting at all cost. I don't ever want to hurt anybody. That's why I kind of fantasize about that horror movie sort of reaction to somebody, physically attacking me. If
Yep.
that way I don't have to hurt anybody. I just use their own fear against them. But it probably wouldn't work. I'd probably just get hurt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's weird. Some people find me intimidating. It's bizarre to me, but I don't know. Maybe I do have a particular build that people have a prejudice toward. So
Well,
whatevs. But if you get to know me for 2 minutes, you'll probably find that I'm not harmful at all. But although people do get scared when I get angry, if I get angry at something, I yell, and at worst I might slam a few inanimate objects around. And I guess that does frighten people sometimes. But it's like, I'm a human. I get angry, and other people get angry too, and I don't.
Well, it's
I don't get all scared when other people get angry. So
yeah, it's instinctive to have some level of fear of anything that is larger than you are, and anything that's making loud noises.
No, yeah. I'm laughing because that's so true.
Yeah.
There's, I wear patches all the time. I drive a big truck. There all the time someone will tell me, they're like, "You're not what I expected." It's because in their head I walked in, I look like this big scary guy, and I'm like, "Hey, where's the linen? Do you guys sell linen? Do you guys sell sewing machines?" And then all of a sudden I'm
Mark
not
is
so
not being nice.
Well,
people are scared of me all the time. And it's when I'm with Isaiah, they're not. But when I'm by myself, I always get the, "Oh, you're such a nice guy. I didn't expect that."
I think the main reason I rarely get into a fight is that most people more or less adhere to the thing of not having a fight with anyone who's crazier than they are.
Oh, I live by that rule. I'm loud as hell. I'll embarrass somebody to the point where they don't want to fight. But you know what? I'm going to say something, and it kind of makes me laugh. The older I get, no one wants to fight me. I think it's my gray hair. I don't go looking for fights. I'm not saying I do, but like, I'm not put in those positions too much anymore. Even though I dress like a gay biker, people really don't mess with me.
I just avoid people all the time. So I don't get into altercations really.
Robert, that's funny.
I love Robert X. You're hilarious.
Yep. Robert's great to have in the side chat. It's always some good comments.
And people who do get in fights all the time, like, I used to have confrontations all the time, and I was like, man, maybe it was something with me, and it was, and I changed it. Well, it was also, I'm not young anymore.
Yeah, we talked about shout outs, and yeah, I really don't say enough for Ox and Robert X how much I appreciate, having you here and moderating the side chat when I can't always keep up with it.
especially nowadays with the crazy porn bots.
Yeah, playing Bop the Bots all the time. But we've been going about 3 hours. I think this is probably a good point for me to wrap it up. I'm still trying to recover from the hospital weekend with Sloth Girl.
Well, give Sloth Girl a hug for all of us.
Absolutely.
She's doing amazingly well. She's already up to taking short walks on her own without the walker, which I never expected that within the first week.
Very, very nice.
The woman,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's got a good size incision. It's several inches right across her belly there.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm surprised at how well she's handling it, and and it's not even like being drugged up all the time, which I would think would be perfectly excusable for at least the first 2 weeks after that level of surgery. But yeah, she's not even taking the painkillers on a regular basis. Only like 1 or 2 a day.
Save the extras. I'll come up get them.
Yeah, I know the street value of those things is pretty good.
Oh gosh, I'm like that with prednisone. Anyone who's had COVID, they already know to give it to me. It's really sad. People randomly just give me prednisone.
Yeah, well, I do wish that I could get some Vicodin, because that's one of the few things that actually will make me sleep.
Laugher, I'm allergic to that stuff. So I alas, I can't be like Brett Favre and get hooked on it.
Yeah.
You know what MVP stands for, don't you?
Well, what's that?
More Vicodin, please.
When I found out, I was so disappointed how could he not be? But I was so disappointed when I found out that Brett Favre was a Trumper, because I rooted for him. Because first, they'd call him old man. Then I found out he had a drug addiction, and I'm like, okay, he's just like everybody else.
Yeah. Mark saying, have you thought about saying the side chat to members only? And I really don't want to do that, because if we get somebody here, mostly I don't really get many trolls. They're pretty rare. So more often I'm getting people who might wander in here, who haven't been regulars but have seen one of us on another show somewhere.
I wandered in here when I was a baby atheist and too scared to say anything. This is probably one of the first chats where I said hi, years ago. Back when you thought I was a woman. Oh, those were the good old days. They'd always say, "Oh, because I'd put in the chat like, oh, I'm gonna put the kid down." They'd be like, "Oh, she's putting the kid down." People were shocked when they saw my face.
Well, I thought it was great. One of the most affirming things about my transitioning, and I won't call them out by name, but when I came out publicly and the word kind of started getting around that one of the people that I had been streaming with regularly, like at least twice a month for more than 2 years, when they were told I was transitioning, they said, which way? That in 2 years they had never figured out what gender I was to begin with. So yes, and of course Stool has to remind us.
Yes, I am a racist woman from Florida.
Although, honestly, in every respect, California is as far from Florida as you can get.
Polar opposites.
Yeah, the exact opposite end of the political spectrum.
I thought Texas.
And we have different weather, different suns.
Well, okay. To be fair, in California, if you drive far enough, you have all the weather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can go from the snow to the beach, to the city, to the middle of the desert, like literally out in the middle of nowhere.
although you really don't get the cold. You have places where it snows up in the mountains, but you really don't get the cold that we get up here.
Well, that's the thing about California is that we can drive to the snow and leave it there.
Yep. Okay, and that's the thing about Minnesota. If you can handle the cold, it's a great place to live. But the cold will break a lot of people.
That's my dream was to live in Alaska until I actually went there and realized I would go insane during the winter.
Well, it's a little different up in Alaska during the winter, especially if you're at our Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to live like in the north, like way like the Arctic slope, you know.
Yeah, Alaska, there's a long way between towns. It can get very isolating.
I didn't realize what the middle of nowhere was until I went to Alaska.
Okay. Jenny, what were you saying?
I just living in Minnesota, there's just tons to do in the winter.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, people in Minnesota, basically living here long enough, they had it with winter. So it's a strict defiance that we will find things to do no matter how cold and snowy it gets. We have the winter carnivals.
Well, in this part of the country, when you have a suburban neighborhood in the winter, you'll have like 5-6 families who'll get together and they'll build a hockey rink in their backyards.
Oh, yep. I see them online all the time. It makes me want to move there. Cuz I'm in a bunch of hockey groups on Facebook and it shows you how to make your own ring and I'm like, I live on the West Coast. You guys are cruel. Because some guy's like, I just did this and I put water in my backyard and he had a huge rink in his backyard. He turned his whole backyard into an ice rink.
Yeah, all you need to do is go to Home Depot, and get yourself a couple 100 feet of the garden edging.
Yep.
Stake it down real good and fill it up with water.
Yeah. I've seen some amazing builds.
Yeah, during the COVID, I couldn't get people to contribute to the project, but since they wouldn't let anybody cross the border, I was promoting the idea of building a curling rink right on the Canadian border. So half of it would be in Canada, half of it would be in the US, and we could play against each other.
Oh, that would be fun. I've actually gone skating in the Great White North, and it's unreal to someone from the West Coast to be skating on a lake outside. Unreal, because I grew up my whole life in skating rings. I actually know how to skate very well when it comes to ice skating.
When I was a little kid, we lived near McCarty Park in West Dallas, and McCarty Park had this big lagoon. I don't know, it was probably an acre or two big, and that's where everybody in the town would come and ice skate. It was really quite nice. And what they would do is every day they would take a 55-gallon drum on skis, sled runners, and drag it out, two guys onto the ice, and they would look for little cracks and chips and things in the ice, and they would fill them with water to make the ice perfect.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me. I was kind of like insecure at first.
Well, I poke fun at it anytime we get in the Jesus debates about that. I'm not impressed by the walking on water, because anytime between November and February you can walk across any lake in Minnesota. But honestly, I do wonder, in the whole Jesus mythology, is it possible that that's where that story came from?
Okay.
That it was a traveler from the north trying to tell them about this in a region where it never got cold enough for the water to freeze outside, so they didn't have the concept of how you could walk across the lake.
I once got in an argument with a Black Baptist preacher, and that was quite literally the third thing that came out of his mouth was no, it was not, because I was like, I don't believe in any of it. And part of his argument was that when Jesus walked on water, it was not frozen. But I destroy people like that because I tell them I don't believe in any of it.
I missed something here, but this comment, I missed what he's responding to from Mox here.
Oh man. Why don't you just use traps like fur trappers?
Oh, they're so cruel. Have you ever seen anything caught in a trap?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I'm West
Yeah.
Coast. I cried when my dad made me shoot Bambi when I was a kid. I'm from the West Coast. I'm a bad hunter. West Coast means bad hunter.
Yeah. Well, my brother and most of my uncles and cousins go out deer hunting every year, and they used to try and get me to go. Fortunately, they gave up fairly early for me. Because I'll go out in the woods and I'll shoot tin cans off a log, but I'm not shooting at anything that's alive.
Yeah, here 12-year-olds go hunting.
I've watched.
Yeah, that's the age when they were trying to convince me I needed to start.
My brother met his wife in the UK at whatever army base he was at. They moved to Montana. They've been together for 20-something years, almost 25 years. But long story short, she is 5'6", 5'7", 90-something pounds. She's bone skinny. And she almost made me puke when I watched her put a deer on a hook and skin the thing.
Someone's got to do it.
I'm from the West Coast. West Coast.
Well,
we don't
even that part of it doesn't bother me. Every year there will be a couple of deer hanging in my mom's garage, and I've been involved with butchering them and packing the meat.
Well, that leather comes from somewhere.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I got a strong stomach after she did like the first 2 or 3. It just was so and she's tiny, and she looked at me and she's like, "Don't be a wuss," as she's cutting it open, and I'm like, "Oh, oh, oh." I'm trying not to puke, trying to be the tough guy. But
Yeah.
they live different lives.
The actual gutting process is still a little difficult for me to take, but
I visualize too much. Like, I can't even watch. When I was a kid, I was addicted to watching skate videos. And at the end of all skate videos, they'd have the bloopers. And they would show people breaking their ankles, breaking their legs. I can't watch that anymore.
If you ever own one of those knives and it's got a sharp blade on one side, and then up at the tip on the back side, there's a hook that is, fairly small, but it's big enough to get around like your finger. That's for gutting, where you stick it in there and you pull,
and
it rips everything out. It's all right.
Mark Short's got a good one. If Jesus is as light as a duck, he's a witch. Burn him.
Yeah, what the hell? I never put that together before.
Imagine
a woman floats on water. She's a witch and needs to be burned to death. A man floats on water. He's the son of God.
I've heard Christians say that if somebody came back and performed the things that Jesus did, they would burn that person as a heretic.
Oh yeah.
So even if Jesus did come back, you'd never know, because they probably killed him 15 times.
Well, especially these days, it's like he's not this white guy. He's going to look Arabic. He's not even going to get through the airport.
Oh,
they're going to strip search him at the airport to start with.
Oh, they wouldn't even let him in the
I always had this question about Jesus. Does Jesus fly through the sky standing up or flat like Superman?
or arms crossed in the seating position like a weirdo.
Oh yeah, it's sitting on a magic carpet.
Yeah, exactly. Like I agree. That's what they've turned. That's what Jesus has been turned into. Or it's this person that's gonna beat you up for not listening.
I love those pictures that you see in memes on the internet where Jesus is here doing this or that or whatever, and he's wearing a crucifix around his neck.
Oh, jeez.
Somebody pointed that out in a picture that one of the evangelists was using of the nativity scene, and there was a crucifix hanging up in there.
The ones
It's like
I love,
foreshadowing.
you know, I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for medical intervention. So I love the memes of when the doctor is over a patient and Jesus is behind him, and it's like, oh, don't forget to give me credit. I
Oh,
love
shit.
those memes because the first thing that made me like, kind of not believe as a kid is that like you could pray over me all you want. If I didn't take my medicine, I would
Yeah.
die, So
And
that led
that's
me
one
to
of the things that really pisses me off. And it's, something that came up again because I spent the whole weekend at the hospital, is when people thank God and completely ignore the doctors and nurses and all the hospital staff that has been milling around them for weeks.
I still remember the name of the doctor that when I was born, I was not breathing, and the doctor saved my life. His name was Dr. Goldfarb. Saved my life I was 0 years old. Like, Jesus doesn't get credit for that. That was all Dr. Goldfarb.
I like
Yeah.
it when an athlete gets a touchdown and does their little religious thing in the end zone, and I always think to myself, geez, I'm sure good thing that Jesus came over here just to make sure you get a touchdown instead of taking all the kids starving in that war.
Well, it's
Jenny,
one of the most memorable lines from MASH for me was in one episode, at the end as things are calming down, Colonel Potter saying to Hawkeye, yeah, if they live, he gets the credit. If they die, we get the blame.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah.
In baseball is the worst for this. Jenny, you made me think of this. I'm a hardcore Dodger fan, okay? So no matter what team it is, when they score and they look and they point up at the sky, I'm like, God isn't a effing Braves fan. Get over it. Like,
Well, and
oh, it
that's
pisses me off. Oh, it pisses me off.
That's the thing. I mean, it happens with every war. It's even funnier when it happens with sporting events, because, there's people on both sides praying. So what do you think God's doing? Is he taking a poll to see who's praying harder or which side has more people praying?
Abraham Lincoln said it the best. God's on no one's side. And he was religious, but I take it a step further, like God's on no one's side because he's not there. But it's true. Like there's no sides you've done. It bothers me. Again, it goes back to my whole thing of like when I was religious, I couldn't understand why people use God as a concierge. God is not your butler. Stop praying for the light to change. Stop praying for a home run. Like I never got that. I never understood that.
And stop distracting him because you lost your car keys. Let him focus on the war that's going on.
Let me tell
you. Let him spend his time looking at the genocide in Africa.
That's another thing that used to really piss me off as a kid. Like, I would be like, okay, but what about this country? What about this country? You could always point to somewhere in the world and be like, but these people are suffering.
Yeah.
Like, does God not get that cable channel? Like, does God not have the premium package? Like, what's going on?
How about this child dying of brain cancer?
It's what I'm saying. Yeah. I rarely talk about this, but I had somebody who was a really good friend of mine, and we stopped talking because it's a long story, but I just basically didn't want to be with her. But she was devoutly religious. I mean, like, we wouldn't even talk about God because it offended her that much. And her child got cancer.
Yeah.
And it made me cry so much because, as an atheist, I value all human beings, and she went through that whole thing of like, oh, God's punishing me. I muted her on Facebook because her Facebook post would make me cry, because she was like, oh, God's testing me. Like, God's not testing you. Your kid has cancer. Like, I feel so sorry for people who that is their only crutch,
Yeah.
I still wonder.
Well,
if she's
making this child's death about you.
Yeah, I wonder if she's still religious. I don't talk to her anymore.
I also wonder about that, of the people who are basically good people who, have a loved one who winds up in a hospital or dying suddenly, and it's like, how many of them are trying to figure out why God is punishing them? What they did to offend him?
That just bothers me. I agree with you, Perb. Bad things happen to all of us. It happens to all
Well,
people.
of course, if you take the Bible as a whole and you believe what it says, if God is punishing you, it's because somebody ate an apple.
F that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's something that from the time I was a kid, I rejected that idea. That how am I responsible for something an ancestor did thousands of years before I was born?
Do you know?
Even when I was a little kid, that was bullshit. I was not accepting the concept of original sin.
Absolutely. I have extensive records of my family, and none of us have anything in common.
I took offense when I was a kid, like in catechism classes, where in Lutheran, you're in catechism classes for like from 6th grade to 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that. And the preacher standing up telling us all about how horrible and bad we are, and that we're sinful and we're going to go to hell, and all these terrible things of what you children are like. And it's like, wait a minute, I have spent my life obeying every word my mother and father said.
Yeah, right.
I don't even cross the street if I'm not supposed to. And I just resented, like, how can you say that about me? You don't know me. You're not, and Jesus certainly isn't around to watch. It pissed me off so much.
No, I agree with
not
you.
Believe anymore.
My parents were really strict, so I didn't break any rules at all. I agree with you. No, yeah. Like I said, when they tell kids, like, oh, if you don't believe in this, you're all going to hell. I remember that feeling of being like, where the F am I? When did this become a scary movie? I'm like 9 years old. And you know what's really funny? I remember seeing the movie Event Horizon, and I'm like, man, I hope hell's not real. I remember thinking that, and I love that movie now. I think I look back and laugh. I used to fall asleep to it, but that's just because I'm sick. But I love that movie.
It's one of my favorites too.
I watch it over and over.
I have actually never watched that one.
Oh, it's a great movie.
I should see if it's on any of the streaming services we've got.
I guarantee you it probably is. It's Event Horizon.
It's probably on Netflix.
Oh, I guarantee you it probably is.
Yeah, we canceled the Netflix.
It might be owned by, if you have Paramount Plus, CBS.
I was going to ask. Yeah, that's Sloth Girl's got a trial account with Paramount Plus, so we've got it for at least 3 months, and then we'll decide whether or not it's worth the money.
You should definitely watch all the new Star Treks. They're amazing. Every episode is like a movie.
Yeah,
actually, Lower Decks is the one I'm most interested in.
Lower Decks is amazing. I
just hear a lot of people talking about that, and it's the kind of thing I always think about. It's like, let's forget about the high-ranking officers and the people who are celebrities. What's the average grunt on the ship going through?
It's hilarious. I won't even give it away. It's a great show. I stand for Lower Decks. But I'm a Star Trek geek, so it doesn't, if you put Star Trek in the title, it doesn't take much. Like, even today, I saw the commercials for the new Strange New Worlds, and they showed the new Uhura, and I was like, you know what? I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
I have no complaints.
Okay, well, actually, I did say about half an hour ago that I was trying to line this up, so... So, does anybody have anything they want to plug? Any last words?
Godless Abs at Godless Sewing. Godless Sewing. Come down to the Godless Sewing channel. Godless Abs.
I have something.
Oh, what have you got, Jay?
If you're out there and masturbating over my new picture, stop that.
Too late. You and I have already gone out like twice. Matter of fact, hey, Jenny, you send me that picture? I had to get my trucker voice. Yep. Hey, thanks, Jenny.
again, I need to thank all my Patreon supporters, including Robert X and Ox here. Actually, they're supporting me on Patreon and they're moderating, so effectively they're paying me to work here.
That's awesome.
But also, Jyuni for doing my avatar, and she's doing some other artwork that'll be showing up on the channel in the future. Not sure exactly when. And the Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Dog. Really appreciate you people keeping me going, and again, really liking the new headset. This is a major upgrade to what I had before. So thank you all for paying for it. And also, again, another word to Skits Crasher, who bought a couple of things off my Amazon wish list for my cats.
Oh, awesome.
Well, that's very nice. Of course, if you increase your cat's allowance, they could pay for it themselves.
Unionize. Tell your cat. Yeah. You can tell your cat to unionize.
Okay. Will, did you have anything else you wanted to plug before we go?
I'm gonna have a video out pretty soon about my Star sewing machine. I've already recorded the first part, so it's gonna happen. It'll be out the next couple of days because this one is gonna be a lot of work, so it'll be out. Coming soon to a computer near you or a cell phone. Godless sewing, godless sewing.
Okay,
Good night,
so
good night,
with
chat.
that,
Love you.
yep. Good night, good morning, wherever you happen to be. Next week I will, try to be back to the normal. And we're just about a month away from my channel's anniversary, so I'm gonna have to come up with something for an anniversary special.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. So May 1st is going to be 4 years. So we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.